Douluo, after listening to the advice, I became a god. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126, Serving the Hashin Sect for Generations. Tang Hao had a look on his face that said, "How dare you lie to me?" Flanders was helpless, but he could only hurriedly explain. It was created by a student named Feng. He couldn't get used to living in the dormitory in the academy, so he used his martial spirit to create a palace. He and your son grew up together, so you should know better than me. After this, Tang Hao was silent for a moment. As for Feng, he naturally knew what kind of evildoer he was. He had wanted to kill him several times before, but in the end it was nothing. After all, in Tang Hao's view, Feng was not a threat to him now, and it would be easy for him to kill him. In addition, he was one of the few friends of his son. He was likely to stand on his side in the future. At that time, let Zhao-san take him in as a subordinate, and establish a fifth attribute family, serving the Hashin sect for generations. When he thought of this, Tang Hao looked at Flanders and sighed. Is that kid really that strong now? That level of control and stability, ordinary plant-type soul masters, even soul kings and soul emperors, can't achieve that level. When he said this, Flanders also smiled. To be honest, he couldn't believe it when he saw Feng do these things, but the fact is that, how can he refute it? Maybe some people are born to eat this bowl of rice. As a soul master who has been working hard for so many years, how could he not see Feng's potential? And to be honest, Flanders didn't know how to teach Feng. The student was really too talented. He didn't know how to teach him. After Tang Hao took a deep look at the palace outside, he said directly to Flanders, "I hope you will forget everything about my coming here." After saying this, before Flanders could react, Tang Hao disappeared directly on the spot. Only the windows and doors were opened, and the cold wind blew. Flanders shook his head and sighed. After all, it's still a question of strength. The next day, Flanders was full of surprise after listening to Zhao Wuji's description of the great forest on this planet. His expression changed several times until he finally heard that everyone had returned safely. He was relieved. It seems that I was still careless, Flanders sighed, his heart full of fear. Tang Hao looked like he wanted to eat people yesterday. If Tang-san really died on their side, none of them would survive. After thinking for a while, Flanders said directly, "Next time we go to hunt soul beasts, I will lead the team with you, and then take Xiaozin and Luke Ivan with us. These children are the pride of heaven and our future. If something happens to them, we can't afford it." Flanders' words really touched Zhao Wuji's heart. After all, he was really scared to death to lead them to hunt soul beasts these days. If Zhao Wuji didn't miss the atmosphere here, he really wanted to run away. The moment the Titan giant ape captured Ning-Rong and others, he wanted to run away. The seven treasure-glazed sect, that kind of behemoth, how could he bear it? When thinking of this, Zhao Wuji couldn't help but sigh. It was easier to lead the team when Qin Ming and the others were there. When Flanders heard this, he remembered Tang Hao's appearance again and nodded in agreement. It's so right. It would be so much better if they were all civilian spirit masters like Qin Ming, easy to fool, and don't have to worry about safety. And isn't Qin Ming doing well now? Most of the students now have backgrounds. Only Feng, Oscar, and Ma Hongjun don't have them. To be honest, they can't afford to offend any of the others. But Oscar and Ma Hongjun grew up under their care, so naturally they wouldn't be too difficult or harsh. After all, they were taught like this since childhood. And Feng's strength is too genius, and he is the backbone of these students. If Feng is too difficult, Flanders even suspects that Feng will run away with him if he is unhappy. That's really a place to cry. It's too uncomfortable. However, Zhao Wuji looked at his old brother for so many years and said something comforting. In fact, you can't be blamed for not being fully prepared. After all, who knew the Xingdu Great Forest would become so strange now? There have been so many accidents in the periphery. First, there was the explosion of the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake, and then we encountered the peerless dragon snake couple. Of course, These are still under control. What I can't understand the most is the tide nape. After all, given its status among soul beasts, it is impossible for it to run around to find food. I really don't understand it. And they captured young Feng and others, but fortunately nothing happened. Otherwise we would really have to run away this time. And you said that even if all of our teachers went, they would still be finished if they encountered soul beasts like the tide nape. After hearing this, Flanders agreed very much. But the Xingdu Great Forest is the closest gathering place for soul beasts to the academy. Apart from there, we have no other choice. But from what you said, the tide nape doesn't seem to have any hostility towards you and has not killed you. Do you know why? Daoji shook his head in confusion when he heard Flanders' words. He also felt very strange. I'm not very clear about this, but I always feel that when we were fighting, the tide nape didn't want to hurt us deliberately. It's just that its strength is too strong. The unintentional scratches made us extremely uncomfortable. There is another thing I can't figure out. Why did the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake temporarily strengthen so much? I don't understand. At this time, a voice that sounded a little stiff and a little weird came directly from the door of the dean's office. According to what you said, the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake should have mutated. There was certainty and confidence in the words. Daoji was startled. When he heard footsteps coming towards this side before, he didn't pay much attention to it. He just thought it was a teacher in the academy. Only then did he realize that the voice was a little wrong. No one in the academy had such a voice. But compared to Daoji's vigilance, Flanders seemed particularly excited. He laughed and stood up. Ha ha ha, Lao, someone who knows is here. Dao Gang, come in quickly. The door opened and a middle-aged man slowly walked in from outside. With a stiff face and a straight back, he seemed to be full of wisdom at first glance. But if you look at it carefully, it's better not to look at him. He is ordinary. Anyway, he doesn't look like someone who is easy to get along with. Chapter 127 Daming. I feel that Sister Xiao has someone she likes. Come on, Lao, you haven't seen him before. Let me introduce him to you. This is my old friend when I was young, and Tang San's teacher. You can just call him Master. Almost everyone in the Spirit Master world calls him Master, and he is very famous. After saying this, Daoji's heart moved, and he looked at Zhao Gang in surprise, and exclaimed directly, So you are Zhao Gang. Hello, I am Daoji. You can also call me Akalanita. Zhao Gang was originally quite pleased in his heart, but after listening to all of the words, the expression that was originally prepared to smile froze instantly. Didn't Flanders ask you to call me Master? And what do you mean by that? I am Zhao Gang. Could it be that you are? But although he thought so, Zhao Gang still didn't show anything as he had just arrived, and a smile was forced out on his stiff face. Thank you for being polite, Akalanita. I guess you are back. Tang San and the others should have come back with you, right? Are they safe? When Zhao Gang arrived at the door, he only heard Daoji's last few words and didn't know what happened before. That's why he asked this question. Daoji laughed awkwardly and was a little embarrassed to speak. When Flanders saw this, he was puzzled and said, Old Zhao, why are you so shy? You don't look like a man. Isn't Tang San okay? Zhao Gang was anxious instantly. Tang San was the best person for him to realize his ideal, at least before he discovered Yun Feng's talent. He was the best one. Now that the matter is done, he can't change anything. So when he saw Daoji like this, he was immediately excited and grabbed Daoji's collar. What's wrong with Tang San? Tell me. Daoji was disgusted instinctively when he saw Zhao Gang like this. He didn't like strangers getting so close to him, and in such a humiliating way. His tone immediately became impolite, and he directly stretched out his hand to throw Zhao Gang away, and then said coldly, No limbs are missing, it's just that he has become a monster. After saying this, he walked out of this so-called dean's office without looking back. Zhao Gang was completely dumbfounded. Although Flanders was a little dissatisfied, both sides were his brothers, so he didn't say anything. And according to Flanders' understanding of Daoji's character, it must not be so exaggerated. If Tang San really turned into a monster, he would not have the leisure to talk to him so much. But now there is no time to care about so much. Both of them are eager to verify whether what Daoji said is true, so they dare to go over directly. Not long after, in the dormitory area, Yu Gang's huge laughter came, and he was obviously very happy. Zhengdu Great Forest, Lake of Life, a small lake with a not very large area. The lake water is clear, surrounded by forests. If you ignore the soul beasts outside that are full of terrifying aura, it is like a fairyland on earth. However, the soul beasts surrounding the Lake of Life seemed to be afraid of something and did not dare to approach this core area. The Titan Ape drank water by the small lake, but before he could take a few sips, the small lake in front of him began to churn violently. Then, an extremely large bull head poked out directly from under the water. The soul beast with a bull head and a python body slowly broke away from the water, revealing its huge body that was 100 meters long. It was the azure bull python. At this time, dark clouds floated, revealing the bright moonlight, and the entire forest was covered with a layer of white gauze. The azure bull python looked up to the sky and let out a long roar. The moonlight in the sky fell and slowly merged into its huge snake body. After the azure bull python finished all this, it looked at the Titan Ape, and then spoke in human language and asked the Titan Ape directly, "Erming, why did you come back now? It's very dangerous outside." After hearing his elder brother's question, the Titan Ape didn't think much and explained directly, "I stayed outside until Zhao Wu and her companions completely left the town outside. I didn't come back." The azure bull python nodded slightly, and just when it was about to sink under the water again, it heard the Titan Ape's voice again. "Da Ming, there is one more thing." When the Titan Ape said this, his tone was full of sadness. This made the azure bull python very puzzled, but he still stopped his actions. After all, this is his younger brother. "What's wrong?" After the Titan Ape hesitated for a long time, he said, "I feel that Zhao Wu has someone she likes." After this, the azure bull python was silent instantly, not knowing how to answer the Titan Ape. After a long while, he smiled and said, "How long is the lifespan of humans? Sister Zhao Wu will eventually come back to us." This seemed to comfort the Titan Ape, and also to comfort himself. But before he could recover from this comfort, the Titan Ape added, "But Sister Zhao Wu has already transformed. She will live in the form of a human in the future, and her lifespan will also be short." The Titan Ape did not finish this sentence, but the azure bull python understood what he meant. Not knowing how to answer, the azure bull python slowly came to the shore this time, sat side by side with his brother, and looked at the bright moonlight in the sky. "I really miss the old days." The night was very quiet. The next day, Yun Feng got up early. Subconsciously, he glanced at Ah Yin who was sleeping beside him, greeted him, and let him change his form. After returning to his hand, he slowly walked into the hall. After taking a look, he slowly shook his head. He originally wanted to ask all the girls to get up and have breakfast together, but thinking that they had just returned, he gave up the idea. After all, not everyone is like him. Just by eating, drinking and playing, the soul power can be increased. Even Yun Feng has not deliberately thought about this kind of thing during this period. After all, he had received a proposal before. As long as he daydreamed once a day, after 3 months, he would automatically be promoted to Soul King. 50 levels of soul power. After thinking about this, Yun Feng lost interest in this aspect. But it does not mean that Yun Feng has nothing to do. His Tai Kai and Soul Guide can be practiced. After all, this still depends on himself. The only thing that makes him a little uncomfortable is that this listening to advice is too difficult to trigger. He tried many times, and even asked Meng Shu and Zhao Danxian when he was in the Starred Great Forest. Even Mengren asked it again, but it is still the same. Chapter 128 Zhu King's Martial Soul Development Direction. Without any prompts, Yun Feng once thought that his system was fake. However, although it was uncomfortable, Yun Feng was still quite satisfied. After all, without this, he would be just a loser, a waste. Even worse than Yu Gang. After all, the spirit of the blue-silver grass is the innate condition. He does not have so many resources, and he does not have a force to rely on. It is too difficult to get up. How can it be smooth sailing now? After shaking his head, Yun Feng went directly to the playground. But to his surprise, he was not the only one at this moment. Seeing the black figure, Yun Feng nodded slowly, which was in line with his impression of Zhu King. As the sun rose, Zhu King continued to sweat and exercise on the playground. accelerating again and again, constantly breaking the limits of her body. She is an agility spirit master, but physical fitness is still needed. Although the effect is very general, it is better than not starting or not doing it. Yun Feng's appearance also caught Zhu Qing's attention during the exercise. But he didn't come forward to say hello. He just continued to do his own thing. Yun Feng didn't say anything when he saw this. He just smiled and started to do his own thing. He practiced Tai Chi over and over again. Although Zhu Qing didn't understand, she couldn't help but look at Yun Feng's achievements at this age. Looking at the slow movements, although they didn't seem to have any lethality, Yun Feng must have his intentions for doing so Zhu Qing didn't disturb him. The two of them were very tacit and began to move forward in their respective fields. About half an hour later, Zhu Qing stopped because of exhaustion. Yun Feng also ended today's practice. The two sat under a big tree nearby, enjoying the gentle breeze in the morning. Yun Feng looked at the hair that was blown by the wind and fell on his cheeks. He subconsciously reached out and licked it, then put it to the tip of his nose and smelled it. Zhu Qing naturally felt Yun Feng's action, but she didn't know what to do for a moment. Her cheeks were flushed, and she was so beautiful. Yun Feng glanced at her. An idea came to his mind. The so-called natural beauty is just like this. A woman's blushing is better than a long dialogue. Just when Zhu Qing was at a loss, Yun Feng realized that something was wrong and quickly put down the hair in his hand. He said directly to Zhu Qing, "Zhu Qing, have you always been trained like this before?" Perhaps she noticed Yun Feng's deliberate change of subject. Zhu Qing was shy. After all, she also had a good impression of Yun Feng, but with her current experience and identity, she didn't want Yun Feng to get into any trouble, so she took advantage of the situation and nodded. After slowly exhaling, her expression became cold again. It seemed that she thought of something, and there was a trace of imperceptible loss in the corner of her eyes. Not for Yun Feng, but for herself. "My talent is not as good as others, so I have to work harder." Most people may not believe this, but it is the truth. Zhu Qing is indeed the worst talent among the 8 students in Shrek Academy. She has a congenital level 7 soul power. In other places, she is a real genius, but she was born in the royal family, to surpass her sister and the eldest prince who are so much older than her. Zhu Qing has no confidence. She can only use diligence to narrow the gap between them. Yun Feng looked into Zhu Qing's eyes and naturally noticed this. After thinking about it, he still said, "But what you do is not very useful." Although physical fitness is also very important, it is not something that can be improved overnight. Moreover, after the physical body reaches its limit, if you continue to force training, you will leave a lot of hidden injuries to your body. It will cause your talent to deteriorate, and you may not even be able to break through to a higher level. Zhu Qing knew what Yun Feng said, but did she have a choice? Although Daimabai is now useless, but what will happen to the Xingyue royal family, doesn't she know? Even if it was to cover up the scandal, they would still let Daimabai and themselves continue. The marriage had been decided, so how could they easily cancel the engagement? And the reason for canceling the engagement was that Daimabai was no longer available. This kind of thing, you don't need to think about it to know. So she could only work harder, even if her body was scrapped. As long as she could win when she officially competed for that position, it would be fine. She wanted to live. What was wrong with her? Seeing Zhu Qing silent, Yun Feng continued, "Zhu Qing, have you ever thought about practicing in a different way? Although it is also very extreme, it will not put such a great burden on your body, and it can greatly improve your understanding and development of martial spirits, and achieve the effect of enhancing your strength." Yun Feng said this with sincerity. His brain now can be said to be an encyclopedia, and he knows everything about soul masters and soul beasts. Naturally, he knows how to train agile soul masters. This type of soul master does not need strength or physical fitness. After all, agile soul masters are positioned as assassins, and they kill with one blow. Never drag your feet. Of course, different schools can make different choices. For example, for the kite-flying type, which is constantly pulling, the soul skills should choose a soul beast of agility. It is best to have some control. Zhu Qing is obviously the first type. In the soul beast world, the nether spirit cat emphasizes a fatal blow. It is an extremely difficult soul beast, because you never know when and where it will appear, and then use its claws to scratch your throat. And now Juzukin is obviously going in the wrong direction. 2 soul skills, 1 nether 100 claws, and 1 nether stab. In Yun Feng's opinion, the first soul skill is completely useless. This meaningless soul skill can not only cause too much damage to others, but also stupidly stand in place to complete the soul skill attack. In the eyes of some masters, Juzukin completely controlled herself. Although the speed is extremely fast, it can only abuse the weak. The second soul skill is a bit interesting, a distance of displacement. Good burst. If it can be combined with some soul skills that increase the body, it will be a good assassination soul skill. In Yun Feng's conception, Juzukin's martial soul development direction should be invisibility, burst and speed. The most important thing is burst. But Juzukin didn't do well in this regard. He took a completely balanced route. He could only slowly procrastinate over time. He fought one move at a time. He completely wasted the advantages of his martial soul. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129, Training. Little Kitty. After hearing what Yun Feng said, Juzukin was stunned for a moment, and then her eyes burst into a bright light. Looking at Yun Feng, she said excitedly, "Do you have any way to change my current state?" Yun Feng saw Juzukin like this, and nodded slowly. For this strong girl, Yun Feng didn't want to go against his heart. He really liked her and really wanted to be with her, and now it's not a dog licker. After all, he only paid some simple knowledge. Whether it can be completed depends on Juzukin's persistence. I can't help her in this regard. There is a way, but I don't know if you can stick to it. After all, my training method is a bit painful. Yun Feng's words were very sincere, but after hearing this, Juzukin didn't even think about it, and agreed directly. After all, she has experienced all the hard and tiring things. Even if Yun Feng's training is difficult, she won't complain at all. After all, she knows that there is not much time left for her to become stronger. I will, no matter what kind of pain it is, I can bear it. When Juzukin said this, her eyes were extremely firm, without any retreat. After a moment of silence, Yun Feng slowly stood up, then patted the dust off his body and said directly to Juzukin, "Since you have decided, then follow me." After saying this, Yun Feng walked directly towards the grove. Looking at the direction where Yun Feng was going, Juzukin thought for a while and followed him. Now that the opportunity was in front of her, Juzukin only thought of one thing. That is, whether the opportunity in front of her was a unique possibility in her life. She didn't want to miss it. Since Yun Feng could achieve such soul power and achievements at this age, it meant that Yun Feng's method was absolutely feasible. Since the facts were already in front of her, why should she hesitate? After the two came to the woods next to Shrek Academy together, they slowly stopped. Yun Feng took a deep breath, looked at Juzukin and said directly, "Your training location will be here in the future." Juzukin nodded seriously, and just when she was about to ask Yun Feng what to do, Yun Feng told her all the training methods he had imagined before. This is a training method for Juzukin, that is, without touching the trees. In this small forest, constantly avoid the attack of Yun Feng's Blue Silver King martial spirit. At first glance, it seems that this training is useless, but you have to know that the density of this small forest is not ordinary. There are some places that even Juzukin can't pass through with her figure, and Yun Feng's requirement is that you can't touch the trees, and you have to constantly avoid the Blue Silver King attacking from all directions. In fact, Yun Feng's idea is also very simple. Since burst is not easy to train, and soul skills can't be changed overnight, then why not train Juzukin's reaction speed? There is not much space on the fighting arena for agile spirit masters to operate, so instead of risking the enemy's spirit skills, it is better to shuttle directly on the fighting arena. Like a swimming dragon, Juzukin can play more operations and damage, and to achieve this, agility alone is not enough, or physical strength alone is not enough. After Juzukin carefully thought about Yun Feng's idea, her eyes suddenly lit up. She had never heard of this training method, but on the surface, it seems to be really effective. But we still have to practice to get the answer. After all, everything has not started yet. And the reason why Yun Feng did this is actually to help himself. His strength has improved too fast. Yun Feng actually hasn't fully mastered many spirit skills. While helping Zhu Zuqing train, he is actually helping himself. It's a win-win situation. And to be honest, Zhu Zuqing is the only one who can meet his requirements. As for Tang San, Yun Feng felt that it would be extremely difficult for him to ask him to help him. After all, Tang San would not tell you these nonsense. Maybe he can help you in other aspects, but forget about cultivation. Yun Feng also thought of this, so he has not implemented his plan. Moreover, Tang San has the ghost shadow, and it will not work if he looks for him. Only Zhu Zuqing can be his punching bag. Zhu Zuqing was surprised for a moment, and then nodded decisively. Yun Feng, when do we start? Yun Feng smiled indifferently and summoned his martial spirit directly. When Tang Hao, who was hiding in the dark, saw this scene, a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes. Yun Feng did not have the breath of Yun at all. It means that the palace before was really built by this kid. But Yun is not here, so where is it? Tang Hao couldn't figure out who he had offended. Wait! Tang Hao suddenly thought of something. Who else could have a grudge against him except the Wuhan Palace? Tang Hao also figured it out during this period of time. Even if Yun really knew the past, he should not be able to transfer himself out, and he could leave no trace without letting himself find out. This is not normal, so there is only one answer. After Tang Hao took a deep look at Yun Feng, he disappeared from the spot. He kept moving forward in the direction of Wuhan City. In the grove, Yun Feng also got the improvement of Yun, and his heart was slightly relaxed. In fact, after they came back, Yun had already noticed Tang Hao's existence. It's just that Yun is no longer the same as before, or it can be said that the aura of Yun after the rebirth has completely disappeared. Like a human, he no longer has the aura of a soul beast, so it is normal that Tang Hao can't sense it. In addition, Yun has now turned into a ring. No one would have thought that the ring was transformed from a soul beast. On the other side, Zhu Zuqing did not hesitate at all after seeing Yun Feng release his martial soul. He directly released his nether spirit cat. Looking at Yun Feng eagerly, he was obviously a little impatient to experience this novel training method. After seeing Zhu Zuqing's expression, Yun Feng just smiled slightly. Then the soul ring on his body shone, and dozens of huge blue-silver king vines rose directly from the ground and rushed towards Zhu Zuqing. Zhu Zuqing was not afraid when she saw the giant vines released behind Yun Feng. After all, such a large volume would be difficult to play a role in such a small space. Chapter 130, Cooking Gardening Wrong. But what Zhu Zuqing could think of, how could Yun Feng not think of it? And he directly released the multiplication technique of the first soul skill. Countless tiny blue-silver kings were split and swept towards Zhu Zuqing. When Zhu Zuqing saw this, she felt deeply shocked, but her steps did not stop. Instead, she kept speeding up and shuttled through the woods. But after a while, Zhu Zuqing was tied up by Yun Feng. Looking at the body tightened by the vines, it looked particularly bumpy, and Yun Feng couldn't stand it. Zhu Zuqing's figure was really foul. After being tightened like this, the huge breasts on her chest became more and more exaggerated. It was almost like she was about to jump out. With a thought, he quickly let go of Zhu Zuqing. Zhu Zuqing's face was also a little red, but at this moment, she didn't care about the abnormality of her body, nor did she notice Yun Feng's discomfort, but was immersed in excitement. This mode of escape, she had experienced it once when she came to the Tandu Empire. Zhu Zuqing was also like this at that time, but at that time, she had to be careful not to leak her own scent. Now, she has to be careful not to touch the trees. That's why Zhu Zuqing was caught so quickly when facing the encirclement of the blue-silver king. After all, it is obviously difficult not to touch or scratch when running fast. Zhu Zuqing thought that she couldn't do this now. It was a bit anti-human. However, the more difficult the task, the more powerful the improvement will be after it is achieved. She still understands this, but wasn't she too fast? She was caught so quickly. Obviously, Zhu Zuqing didn't expect it. After that, Yun Feng continued with Zhuzuking for several times before stopping. After stopping, both of them were already panting, their faces flushed, and sweat kept dripping. Obviously they were very tired. Such high-intensity training obviously consumed a lot of energy. After resting for a while, Yun Feng felt that he was starting to get hungry. After all, it was early in the morning. After thinking about it, he said directly to Zhuzuking, "Too much is as bad as too little. Zuking, let's train next time." Zhuzuking looked at Yun Feng's appearance at this time and nodded a little embarrassedly. "I'm sorry to trouble you." Seeing Zhuzuking so polite, Yun Feng also smiled and shook his head and said, "We are all friends. There is no need to be so formal." After hearing this, Zhuzuking laughed, obviously very happy. Friends. How unattainable this word was for her before. Now she has it too. The two walked out of the grove together and went straight back to their residence. But the moment he opened the door, he was stunned. Seeing Zhao Wu sitting in the hall at this time, looking at the two of them, especially the suspicion in her eyes made Zhuzuking blush. After all, they had been training in the grove for so long, and their clothes were inevitably a little wrinkled, plus the messy hair and flushed faces of the two. Anyone would think too much. Fortunately, Yun Feng was thick-skinned and explained the matter between him and Zhuzuking directly, so Zhao Wu let down her guard a little. "Where's wrong? Yun Feng obviously didn't want to continue talking about this topic. He sat next to Zhao Wu and asked her. After hearing what Yun Feng said, Zhao Wu was instantly diverted to the topic. Wrong said that we have been working hard these days, so she wants to make us breakfast and ask us to wait. I am waiting for breakfast now." Yun Feng was quite happy at first. No one would believe that a rich lady would cook for him and others. But then he found that something seemed wrong. Can Ning Rong cook? She has been living a life of luxury since she was a child, not to mention her identity. Cook? Can she? It's not that Yun Feng looks down on Ning Rong, it's just a reasonable suspicion. Just when Yun Feng was thinking about this, for some reason, a burning smell came from the direction of the kitchen. Yun Feng realized that something was wrong and rushed to the kitchen. But who would have thought that the kitchen was locked? Without time to think, Yun Feng shouted directly inside, Wrong, what are you doing?" Ning Rong, who was originally in the kitchen, opened the kitchen door directly after hearing Yun Feng's call. Instantly, the moment the door opened, a very thick black smoke came out directly. It instantly swept the entire hall, and Yun Feng was shocked when he saw Ning Rong's outfit. There was only one thought left in his mind. Is this Ning Rong? Ning Rong was wearing an apron at this time, her face was black, and her hands were full of grease. She was holding a spatula in her hand, which was fine. The key point was that there was a whole chicken across the spatula. Like a sharp blade, it went straight in. After opening the door, Ning Rong's face, which couldn't be any darker, suddenly smiled, revealing her white teeth. Just when she wanted to speak, she was choked by the smoke and coughed a few times. "Yun Feng, ahem, you're back. Wait a minute, I'll be out after I finish cooking." After Ning Rong said this, she wanted to close the door. Yun Feng was completely dumbfounded when he saw this. Did Ning Rong not know how terrible she was? She was so confident that she asked others to wait. Yun Feng didn't know what to say for a moment. Zhao Wu and Zhuzuking, who were waiting in the hall, also came to the outside of the kitchen. After all, such heavy black smoke suddenly came from the hall. Anyone would be worried. After Zhao Wu and Zhuzuking looked at each other, they both had a firm belief in their lives. They blocked the kitchen door directly. They forcibly pulled Ning Rong out. Wrong, listen, you are not fit to cook. Didn't you see that the chicken on your spatula has turned into charcoal? Ning Rong was about to refute, but Zhuzuking stretched out her sharp claws without hesitation and tapped the chicken's body lightly. The shell withdrew, revealing the fiery red charcoal. It shattered all over the floor. Ning Rong looked at the fiery red that fell on the floor and couldn't speak for a long time. No expression could be seen on her dark face. After a final smirk, she slowly said, "I also cooked other dishes?" Wu pointed to the kitchen. "Are you referring to the big fire?" The raging flames began to burn violently in the kitchen at this time, and it was about to spread. Yun Feng directly summoned his martial soul and forcibly extinguished the fire. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief, but after looking at the thick smoke in the kitchen, he didn't know how to speak. Ning Rong couldn't bear it anymore and said directly, "I just want to cook a meal for everyone." There was a hint of tears in her tone. Chapter 131, Now he's cheating on me. After seeing Ning Rong like this, everyone didn't have any other thoughts, so they were naturally embarrassed to say anything. Dao Wu and Zhu Zuqing came directly to Ning Rong's side, and didn't mind the dust on her body. They said softly, "Okay, we don't mean to blame you. You cooked for us. How can we say anything to you?" Zhu Zuqing also nodded, and then said, "It's just right. I just came back from exercise. Let's go wash together. We can go out for breakfast." After Zhu Zuqing said this, Ning Rong looked at the direction of the kitchen with some reluctance. After thinking about it, she nodded. After all, the turkey that turned into charcoal on the ground has already explained everything. Ning Rong is not someone who can tell good from bad, so she directly agreed to Zhu Zuqing's invitation, but before leaving, she still said sorry to Yun Feng. After all, this house belongs to Yun Feng, and she destroyed the kitchen. Naturally, she felt a little guilty. Yun Feng didn't care, he just shook his hand. After all, he could easily fix this thing. No need to worry. Yin, who noticed Yun Feng's thoughts, didn't know what to say. "Anyway, I'm the one doing the work, so it's just a piece of cake for you." But Yin didn't say this. As the three women left, Yun Feng looked at the kitchen and restored it to its original appearance with the help of Yin. After thinking about it, he took out the ingredients from the storage soul guide and started cooking. In fact, Yun Feng was a little uncomfortable eating outside. Since he got advice on cooking last time, Yun Feng's cooking skills are no joke. Seriously, there is no one else on this continent who can cook better than him. After all, Yun Feng's soul power and physical growth are related to eating. In this regard, Yun Feng will not treat himself badly. Soon, Yun Feng made breakfast directly. After taking a shower, the three women came out with hot hair all over their bodies and wet hair. He was wiping with a towel in his hand. As soon as the three girls walked into the hall, they immediately smelled an extremely tempting fragrance. Following the source of the fragrance, they saw Yun Feng sitting on the dining table and eating. After seeing this scene, Dao Wu naturally knew that it was Yun Feng who was cooking. Without thinking too much, she threw the towel in her hand and pulled Ning Rong and Zhu Zuqing to the dining table. She knew Yun Feng's fighting ability. Even if there was more food, as long as Yun Feng was willing to eat it, it would be eaten up. So while there was still food, they had to hurry up. Zhu Zuqing was a little embarrassed at first, but after training for a whole morning, she was naturally hungry and didn't worry too much. As for Ning Rong, she didn't think so much at all and sat down at the dining table. Yun Feng looked at Dao Wu's appearance and laughed immediately. "Okay, I'll make it for you, Dao Wu. Don't worry, I will eat all these things." When Yun Feng said this, Dao Wu also showed a hint of embarrassment in her smile, but she didn't answer Yun Feng's words, but quickly started to eat. You know, it's extremely difficult to ask Yun Feng to cook a meal. After all, this person is too difficult. Although he won't treat her badly, Yun Feng basically won't cook when there is something. So she hasn't eaten Yun Feng's meal for a long time. After returning from the starred Great Forest, everyone rested well for a few days. But this group does not include Zhu Zuqing and Yun Feng. Whenever Yun Feng wanted to play badly, Zhu Zuqing looked at Yun Feng with that kind of extremely eager eyes, making Yun Feng shout that he couldn't resist. In the end, there was no choice but to go into the woods with Zhu Zuqing, and this move, of course, could not be hidden from everyone in Shrek Academy. After all, the place is so big. When Ma Hongjun, Oscar and Tang San saw this scene, they all admired Yun Feng very much. Every time they went in, it took such a long time to come out. Every time they came out, they were panting. You don't have to think about what happened. And Yun Feng's operation in the wild woods made Ma Hongjun admire him very much. It has to be this kind of genius, playing with flowers. Yun Feng wanted to explain, but looking at Zhu Zuqing's expression, he knew that his explanation would only make things worse. So he simply didn't bother to care. As for Zhu Zuqing, It was impossible for her to take the initiative to talk to them. So Dai Mabai, who didn't understand the truth, looked at his fiancée. He felt very uncomfortable in his heart. He didn't even know what to say. Now the cheating is behind his back. He wanted to say something to stop it, but after thinking about his current situation, Dai Mabai was still silent. He couldn't do anything. Even if he saw it, what could he do? Beat? He couldn't beat. Scold? And get beaten? It's difficult. It's too difficult. He hasn't touched a woman for a long time. He doesn't even know what a woman feels like. It's very uncomfortable to hold his breath, especially when Juzukin is so beautiful. It's not that he hadn't thought about going to the grove before, but after hearing the movement inside, he still didn't go in because of inferiority. How can anyone be so fierce? When he did something, he could actually make the whole forest shake. The next morning, after Yao Gang went out to learn about Tang San's situation, he asked Tang San to show his special spirit bone, and the two returned directly to Shrek Academy. It was already dawn, and Yao Gang talked a lot about spirit bones. Although it was just a general situation, Tang San also needed to gradually digest this knowledge. Dao San, go eat. From today on, I will arrange a new training schedule for you. Tang San looked up at Yao Gang. Teacher, are you leaving? In his opinion, Yao Gang had arranged a training method for him, and he was probably leaving. He couldn't help feeling lost. If Yun Feng was here, looking at Tang San's current appearance, he would definitely think that he was in love. After seeing his disciple like this, Yao Gang was very satisfied in his heart, smiled slightly, and said, "Don't worry, the teacher is not leaving. I am afraid that you will have problems when practicing the external spirit bone. This external spirit bone is already a part of your body and is completely integrated with your brain. If there is a problem, it may be fatal. Therefore, I have no choice but to stay." Teacher is not leaving? That's great. Tang San was overjoyed when he heard that Yao Gang would stay and continue to guide him in his practice. Yao Gang's face showed a trace of yearning. Chapter 132 Nonsense. Dao San, you know, I really want to see what you will look like in 20 years. I decided to stay not only for you, but also for your partners in the academy. Each of you can be described as a genius. If there is no suitable training method, won't it be wasted? Although Flanders has a lot of experience in training, he is not good enough in many details. I hope that you can become a strong group in the future. Therefore, I must guide you with the best training methods from now on. For Tang San, the reason why Yao Gang stayed was not important. The key was that he decided to stay, which was enough. The master and apprentice came to the academy cafeteria. I don't know if it was because the food was too bad. Although the breakfast in the cafeteria was ready, it was empty. Tang San hurriedly served 2 bowls of porridge, one for himself and one for Yao Gang. Shrek Academy is not rich, so breakfast is naturally not very rich. Today's breakfast is very simple: steamed buns, pickles, porridge, and 1 egg per person. Looking at the breakfast Tang San brought to him, Yao Gang frowned. Flander gave you this to eat? Yao Gang's stiff face looked a little dark. Tang San thought for a moment and said doubtfully, "This is already very good. The steamed buns are enough to fill you up. Much better than when I was a child." Speaking of my childhood, it's thanks to Grandpa Jack and Yun Feng for taking care of our family. Otherwise I might have starved to death. Nonsense. Yao Gang naturally couldn't eat these things, and he put down the steamed bun in his hand, his anger rising. He has always had a hard temper. You kids are at an important time of growing up, and the body is the capital of the martial spirit. Without a good body, how can you persist in intensive training? This breakfast is enough for people of my and Flanders' age, but it is far from enough for you kids. Yao Gang was getting angry, and Flanders' lazy voice came from outside. "I say, Yao Gang, you are talking without any pain. You also know that these children are growing up. Do you know how much they need to eat every day? You can buy delicacies from land and sea in Soto City, but the financial conditions of the college will never allow me to give them delicacies. If you are willing to sponsor, I have no objection." Following the voice, Flanders walked in from outside. Looking at him, Yao Gang's expression eased a little, but he was unwilling to eat the steamed buns and porridge in front of him. Since he decided to stay, how could he eat these things? Although he thought so in his heart, He still said in a high-sounding manner on the surface, "I don't care what difficulties the college has, but since I have decided to stay, as a teacher here, I must not let the children suffer. Flanders, you let me handle this matter. From now on, I will decide what these children eat for every meal." Flanders was happy. "Why, Dao Gang, you decided to stay?" Dao Gang nodded. "Whether it's for Tang San or for these little monsters you recruited, I decided to stay here for a while. I also briefly learned about your current teaching methods in the past 2 days. There are many areas that need to be improved. You told me the other day that as long as I am willing to stay, you can delegate power to me, right?" Flanders knew Dao Gang too well. Looking at his appearance, he already understood his old brother's determination to do something big. Although he didn't express anything on the surface, he was already very happy in his heart. Dao Gang's theoretical knowledge is unparalleled in the world. At the moment, he was afraid that Dao Gang would regret it, so he immediately said happily, "No problem. You just need to notify me first of what you want to do. The teachers of the academy are at your disposal. Of course, you have to tell me first where you need to spend money. The financial situation of the academy must be worse than you think." Dao Gang frowned slightly and said, "I know that you are all arrogant people, but can't you be flexible and increase your income?" Dao Gang said so, but for a group of lazy people, it is impossible to work. They can only make a living by begging for money. Flanders was stunned for a moment, then laughed. "You are so stubborn, but you also know how to be flexible?" Dao Gang glanced at Tang San beside him thoughtfully. "For these children, what's wrong with being flexible?" Flanders laughed. "Okay, as long as it doesn't violate my principles, you can be flexible in any way you want." After breakfast, the bell rang on time, summoning all the students to the playground of the academy. Today was particularly lively. Not only the 2 deans, Flanders and Zhao Wuji, came, but also the master and several other teachers of the academy came to the playground. In addition to the 2 deans, the academy originally had 3 teachers. They were the 3 who were responsible for the first 3 levels of the entrance examination. Tang San had only seen one of them, the old man who scared away many people with his stick spirit. "Okay, everyone is here, and I have a few things to announce." Flanders walked in front of the 7 students and swept his eyes over the 8 people seriously. "First, I will introduce the teachers of the academy to the 4 new students." As he said this, Flanders pointed to the old man whose martial spirit was a long stick that everyone had seen before. "This is Teacher Li Yusong, martial spirit dragon pattern stick, level 63 Soul Emperor." Pointing to the second older old man who seemed to be over 70 years old, he said, "This is Teacher Lu Kaiban, martial spirit star chess, level 66 Soul Emperor." The last teacher was younger than the first 2, and seemed to be about the same age as Flanders. "This is Teacher Xiao Xin, martial spirit sugar bean, level 71 Soul Saint, food type soul master." Teacher Xiao is definitely one of the top 5 food type soul masters I know. If the first 2 teachers were not shocking enough, then the appearance of a level 71 food type soul saint shocked Zhu Zuqing, Dao Wu and Tang San at the same time. Yun Feng knew the plot, but Ning Rong didn't care at all. No matter how powerful he was, he couldn't be as powerful as their 7 treasures glazed tile sect. But this is indeed a talent. Teacher Xiao looked short, about the same height as Zhao Wu, who was only 12 years old, or even shorter, with small eyes and a big nose. Not very impressive, but who would have thought that he was such a high-level food-type soul master? A level 71 food-type soul saint, whether placed in the spirit hall or in any soul master family, is definitely a worship-level soul. After Flanders introduced them, the 3 teachers nodded to the students. The difference was that the first teacher, Li, had no expression on his face, while the second teacher, Lu, had a smile on his face. When it came to Teacher Xiao, the expression on his face was a little weird. His eyes were always on Oscar, and his eyes were even a little obsessed. Chapter 133. Aren't you afraid of disappointing him? Finally, Flanders walked to Dao Gang, put his arm around Dao Gang's shoulders, and said, "The last one, I want to introduce you in detail. He is the one who came up with the competitiveness of the top 10 martial spirits through his own research. He is known as the strongest martial spirit theory, the most intelligent spirit master, and also Tang San's teacher, Mr. Yu Gang. Of course, he is also my old brother. We have known each other for decades. Maybe you don't know his name very well, but I think you should have heard of his title. From now on, you can just call him Master." After hearing the word Master, everyone couldn't help but feel a little strange. After all, before Yu Gang appeared, Master was generally a name for people who had extraordinary achievements in a certain field. After Yu Gang appeared, the named Master seemed to have become a joke in an instant. Even everyone didn't know how Yu Gang accepted this title. After all, the people of Shrek Academy now are not the same as before, who knew nothing. So many things have happened, and they are no longer the people who used to live a carefree life, and they pay more attention to everything else. In addition, they also listened to Yu Gang's reputation before. So after hearing Flanders' introduction, he felt very strange. Ning Rong laughed without giving him any face. "Excuse me, what kind of master is he?" Flanders was embarrassed, and Yu Gang's mouth twitched. He didn't know how to answer. After looking at Flanders, he motioned him to speak. Flanders also understood that if his good brother couldn't subdue these little monsters, the subsequent teaching would definitely not go smoothly. So he cleared his throat, coughed a few times, and then said, "Didn't I say it before? The reason why the master is called the master is that he proposed the theory of the 10-core competitiveness of the martial spirit before, which was recognized by the whole continent. Do you have any questions?" When Flanders said this, his tone was unprecedentedly proud, as if he was proud of his good brother. But after Flanders finished speaking this time, it was only Ning Rong who was laughing. Now Zhuzukin couldn't stand it anymore. "What is this?" Although she didn't live very well in these years, she was also a member of the Zhu family of the Xingluo Empire before. "Of course, I have read some theories about martial spirits, but aren't those theories of Yu Gang public information among the upper echelons? That's why I feel very puzzled. If it really benefits the world of spirit masters, Zhuzukin, Ning Rong and others may look up to Yu Gang, but those theories are not complete. Or rather, they are not theories, but records. They only record the current limit of spirit ring absorption. It's not a foregone conclusion, saying that death is inevitable. After all, there are many civilian spirit masters who can't reach the strength of their martial spirits and force absorption. Some even explode and die before they can reach 423 years. So it's not about hitting the limit. After all, no one knows the current limit. And in Yu Gang's theory of the 10 martial spirits, there are no useless martial spirits, only useless spirit masters. It's even more outrageous. Dao Wu actually knew it, but she had never had the opportunity to complain before. This time, she said directly to Tang San, "Dao San, don't be angry when I tell you." Tang San was immediately happy to see Dao Wu talking to him. Subconsciously, he touched the cloth on his forehead, and underneath was his compound eye. "You can talk, I won't be angry." After hearing this, Dao Wu also whispered, "Master, didn't you say that there are no useless martial spirits, only useless spirit masters?" "But as far as I know, Master's martial spirit doesn't seem to be very powerful. But why is his spirit power level not as good as you and me now? Isn't this contrary to his theory?" Everyone present was a spirit master, so they could naturally hear Dao Wu's words. Flanders suddenly didn't know what to say. Even he was a little suspicious. He looked at Yu Gang suspiciously. Yu Gang was immediately very angry, but it was impossible to leave. After all, this was where his ideals were placed. It was the only place where he could prove his theory. After taking a deep breath, he forced a smile and said, "I know that you people here have a little misunderstanding about me, but it doesn't matter. I will prove myself with my strength and knowledge." When Yu Gang said this, he was full of confidence. After all, Tang San was taught by himself, so he was not worried. Even if there were misunderstandings now, they would definitely believe in him and even worship him in the future. Yun Feng was a little speechless after seeing Yu Gang like this. Dao Wuji, on the other hand, recalled the disgusting scene yesterday. Looking at Yun Feng and Tang San, he suddenly thought of something, and the corners of his mouth curved slightly. "Master, I remember that Yun Feng and Tang San grew up together, and even joined the same academy. Why didn't you choose the more talented Yun Feng as your disciple?" but chose Tang San? Is it because Tang San was born with full soul power, and Yun Feng was born with first-level soul power, just like you at the beginning, so you chose Tang San, who was easier to train? Zhao Wuji's words were extremely weird. Yu Zhaogang was immediately furious. In fact, Yu Zhaogang also regretted it very much. If he had accepted Yun Feng at the beginning, or accepted Yun Feng as well, wouldn't he have one more choice? But now is not the time to think about this. He was already so angry with Zhao Wuji that he couldn't bear it anymore. It was just a sentence. Is it really that serious? And Flanders had never expected Zhao Wuji to do this, and he was furious. However, he still tried his best to suppress himself and said to Zhao Wuji, "Old Zhao, what's wrong with you?" "I invited the master with great difficulty. Apologize quickly and don't let others feel cold." Zhao Wuji looked at Flanders at this time and felt very sad. Cold? When he said this, weren't you afraid of letting him feel cold? After Zhao Wuji glanced at Yu Zhaogang, he glanced at Flanders again. Finally, he said sorry and left the playground directly. After seeing Zhao Wuji leave, Flanders felt relieved, but also felt lost. Between Yu Zhaogang and Zhao Wuji, he was more inclined to the former. However, Zhao Wuji's words also made everyone present feel a little depressed. This so-called master didn't seem to have a very good vision. Yun Feng and Tang San actually didn't accept Yun Feng as a disciple. I really didn't know what to say. Chapter 134 seems to be sane. I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Can he really teach me and others well? But Flanders is still Flanders. He quickly calmed down and said loudly, "From today on, the master will be fully responsible for your teaching, and we will cooperate with the master. Today is just the first meeting, so I will give you a day off, and the class will resume tomorrow." During this trip to the Xingdu Great Forest, 2 more people have reached the Soul Master realm, Ningrong Narong, Ma Hongjun, and Zhu Zuqing, who have not yet broken through to level 30. You also have to work hard and try to catch up with the others as soon as possible. Master, do you have anything to say? The last sentence was a question to Yu Zhaogang. After all, I still have to give him some face and try my best to cooperate. Yu Zhaogang nodded in satisfaction at this time, his stiff face as always, looking at the 8 students in front of him, and said lightly, "There are only 8 of you students in the academy. In my opinion, you are also a whole. I have read your resumes. Later, I will develop some targeted teaching methods. In addition to cooperation, I don't want to hear any different voices. No matter who you are, I will treat you equally. Since you're students of the Monster Academy, you must be more weird than ordinary soul masters. From now on, everyone will only think of the word monster when mentioning you. From now on, the 8 of you will no longer be divided into elementary and advanced parts as before, and will be taught in a unified way." After Yu Zhaogang finished speaking, his eyes swept over everyone. "Okay, now you can disband. Gather here tomorrow morning. Also, I don't want to see anyone absent at breakfast, otherwise, they will be treated with special training." Seeing that Yu Zhaogang wanted to leave after he finished speaking, Zhu Zuqing frowned. If Yu Zhaogang's teaching was ineffective, why should she listen to him? So she immediately raised a question. He said directly, "If your teaching can't improve my combat ability, can I refuse it, because I recently got a more effective training plan?" After saying this, Yu Zhaogang frowned immediately. There are still people who doubt his training ability. In his opinion, even Yun Feng, if he is trained under his hands for a period of time, can become more powerful. So he immediately said, "You can try it. If you think my method doesn't work, then take out your method. Let's just compete with each other." After seeing Yun Feng nodded, Zhu Zuqing also opened her red lips and slowly uttered a firm word. "Okay." Yu Zhaogang smiled when he saw Zhu Zuqing agreed to this matter. In his opinion, what kind of training system can a little girl have? Can she be better than himself? The matter came to an end. For Ma Hongjun and others, resting for a day is of course a good thing, but Yu Zhaogang's arrival actually made them a little curious and uneasy. Watching the teachers leave one after another, Ma Hongjun stood beside Tang San with a smile and whispered, "Tang San, it seems that your teacher is more powerful than Dean Flanders." Ma Hongjun actually didn't have too many conflicts with Tang San, so he spoke directly. Seeing this, Tang San smiled slightly and defended his teacher. The teacher has always been meticulous in doing things. As long as you strictly follow his instructions, there will be no problems. Seeing this, Ma Hongjun thought of what he had just said, and looked at Tang San's shameless words. He directly changed the subject. Is anyone going into the city? I finally have a day off. I'm going to Soto City. Dime Bai was actually a little tempted, but after thinking about his current disability, he still refused Ma Hongjun. In fact, Ma Hongjun was not holding back. After his body had problems, Ma Hongjun had not released himself. It's not that it's completely impossible, but there are fewer worldly desires. The reason why he went now is completely for his own habits. He doesn't want to completely abandon his happiness as a man. Oscar hesitated for a moment after hearing what Ma Hongjun said. He glanced at where Ning Rong was and found that her eyes were not on him at all. He felt even more sad, so he said directly, I'll go with you. After all, we didn't have a good time in the past few days. Yun Feng thought about it and decided to buy some tools, so he said directly, I'll go too. I think I need to buy something too. After saying this, the women present looked at Yun Feng with surprised eyes. It seemed as if they were saying, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Even Ma Hongjun showed a surprised look. He was so outspoken that he even said directly, you already have 3 beauties, and you still want to go to that kind of place? After hearing this, Yun Feng looked at the expressions of everyone and suddenly didn't know what to say. Am I the kind of person in your mind? I'm going to buy some forging stuff. After all, I have something serious to do. Tang San also said with a smile at this time, that's right, Yun Feng, I'll go with you too. Ma Hongjun glanced at the two of them and immediately said with a smile, Tang San, have you come to your senses? Tang San was stunned for a moment. What do you mean? I'm going to find a blacksmith shop and see if I can hire 2 blacksmiths to make some things. Otherwise, with my own strength, how long will it take to equip each of you? At this time, the women also returned to normal. Their faces looked much better, and Ning Rong even chuckled. I knew Yun Feng wouldn't be as dirty as you guys. Dao Wu and Zhu Zuqing also looked at each other at this time, and said directly to Yun Feng, let's go with you. Seeing this, Yun Feng smiled and shook his head, and then said, forget it, I'll go by myself. You've been frightened a lot this time. Take a rest in the academy. Tang San and I will be back soon. The women didn't insist and nodded in agreement. Ma Hongjun had some complaints. What do you mean by dirty? I just did what a man should do. Watching the 3 people leaving, Ning Rong whispered in Dao Wu's ear, Dao Wu, aren't you worried that Yun Feng can't resist the temptation and follows Ma Hongjun to that kind of place? If it were me, I would definitely go with him. Dao Wu smiled slightly and said, men always need some freedom, and I don't believe that Yun Feng will be led astray by the fat man. Ning Rong was extremely envious of this kind of relationship. Chapter 135. Still want to learn secretly. After all, she hadn't figured out what her feelings were. What kind of attitude did she have towards Yun Feng? But in general, Ning Rong looked at Yun Feng's appearance and still shifted her sight unnaturally. Of course, liking someone is not just because of his appearance, but also because of more inner things. Soto City. As soon as he entered the city, Ma Hongjun quickly separated from Yun Feng and Tang San and went to solve his physiological problems. Even if it was 3 seconds, it was an addiction he couldn't quit. On the way, he naturally tempted Yun Feng and Tang San several times, hoping to drag them into the water. However, Yun Feng and Tang San were obviously determined and were not deceived by him. They were both 12 years old, but the difference in their minds was still huge. Tang San liked Dao Wu and didn't want to spread any bad things. As for Yun Feng, he simply disliked him, and he didn't have the habit of sharing things with others. Soto City was still so prosperous. It was morning and all the shops were open for business. The bustling crowd was completely different from the quietness of Shrek Academy. Tang San looked at Yun Feng. His eyes flashed with confusion and curiosity, and he asked directly, Yun Feng, you have always wanted to ask, how did you get that weapon before? After seeing Tang San like this, Yun Feng was also impressed that Tang San could wait until now to ask. But then Yan's words completely broke Yun Feng's idea. It's not that he doesn't want to know, nor that he can't bear it, but he has been silently observing your movements before, sometimes, even following behind you, and all this started after your last entrance test." Yun Feng was speechless. It turned out that Tang San still played his old tricks, stealing the teacher. Yun Feng didn't know what to say for a moment. In fact, Yun Feng is now a relatively powerful figure in the manufacture of soul guides. At least at this time, what he needs to do now is to refine his own techniques and abilities. But Yun Feng doesn't plan to tell Tang San about this thing. After all, with Tang San's intelligence, Yun Feng believes that Tang San will soon understand the reason. So in response to Tang San's inquiry, Yun Feng simply smiled and said slowly, "This is a secret, Dao San." Tang San was stunned, looking at Yun Feng with a hint of disbelief in his eyes. He opened his mouth to say something, but suddenly thought of something. Looking at Yun Feng, he nodded directly without saying anything. But in his heart, he became happy. He had been following Yun Feng before, and he didn't find a way just because Yun Feng didn't do this thing. Now that he came to this place, he didn't need to think about what Yun Feng wanted to do. At that time, he just had to finish the things that he hadn't done before. As for being discovered by Yun Feng, anyway, we are all friends. What's wrong with sharing? After thinking of this, Tang San was no longer curious. Anyway, he would know it after a while. Yun Feng took in all of Tang San's expressions, but he didn't say anything. After all, these things, in fact, without the blessing of the system, without any knowledge of soul guides, it is actually very difficult to learn. It's like giving him a method of making gunpowder and then asking him to study how missiles are made. After he felt a little more contempt for Tang San, Yun Feng did not think about it any further. After all, it was better to know this kind of thing by himself. There was no need to tell others. The purpose of Yun Feng's trip was very simple, that is, to find a suitable blacksmith shop, and then go to buy some things needed for forging. Although the purpose was different from Tang San's, the destination was the same. They were all going to the blacksmith shop. After asking several passers-by, Yun Feng and Tang San finally found the destination of this trip, the largest blacksmith shop in Soto City. The name of this blacksmith shop was very simple, just called the blacksmith shop, without any decorative words. Before entering the blacksmith shop, you can already hear dense knocking sounds. The sound is dense and crisp. Obviously, there are many blacksmiths working. From the outside, the scale of this blacksmith shop is much larger than the blacksmith shop where Tang San used to work in Notting City. It is 5 or 6 times larger than Shi San's blacksmith shop. In the wide reception room, various finished products are placed according to categories. It is divided into 3 major areas. They are daily utensils, weapons, and protective gear. Among them, daily utensils occupy about half of the store area, and the rest are weapons and protective gear. In the center of the front hall and the back workshop of the store, there is a long black curtain. Every 3 meters on the curtain, there is a white iron character with a diameter of 1 meter. It looks very imposing. There are 6 or 7 clerks in the store living room responsible for receiving guests. They are very clear about the division of labor. Some are responsible for receiving guests and taking over business, and some are responsible for handing over the finished products to the guests. There is also a middle-aged man who looks burly sitting behind the counter and is responsible for collecting money. Yun Feng walked into the store and went straight to the counter. A clerk in the store hurriedly came up and blocked Yun Feng. "Young sir, do you need anything?" Yun Feng glanced at the clerk in front of him and said directly, "I just want to buy a forging hammer and some materials." After hearing what Yun Feng said, Tang San seriously wrote down the names of the materials. He said calmly, "I want to discuss business with you." The clerk looked Tang San up and down. Tang San's clothes were very simple, cloth clothes and cloth pants, nothing special. He had an ordinary appearance and a well-proportioned figure. He looked like an ordinary person. "Just tell me what you want to build," Tang San said with a little disdain in his heart. "I'm afraid you can't make the decision. This is a long-term business. If possible, we will continue to cooperate." As he spoke, Tang San took out a piece of paper from his arms. "Can you understand this?" It was a design drawing of a hidden weapon part. When Tang San made a hidden weapon himself, he also needed to draw it first, and then make it after careful measurement and calculation. Not everything can be remembered by the brain. The clerk took the drawing and was dumbfounded after taking a look. There were many complicated patterns drawn on the drawing, let alone understanding it. He couldn't even tell what these things were. After thinking about it, he took out the things Yun Feng had mentioned before, sold them to Yun Feng, and then said to Tang San, "Please wait a moment, I'll ask the shopkeeper to see if we can do it." Yun Feng didn't want to look at Tang San here. It was a complete waste of time. Instead, after taking his things, he said goodbye to Tang San. Tang San wanted to say something, but in the end he remained silent. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136, Carriage, Past, Regret. After Yun Feng walked out of the blacksmith shop, he began to wander around Soto City. After thinking about it, he went to buy some food. When Yun Feng was about to leave Soto City, he suddenly saw an extremely luxurious carriage passing by the city gate. Yun Feng recognized at a glance that this was a carriage used exclusively by the Tandu royal family. Looking at the high-ranking officials of Soto City who were all welcoming outside the city, Yun Feng immediately realized that the people in the carriage should be royal relatives. However, Yun Feng only observed it for a while and did not continue. However, this glance made the two old men in the carriage different. After whispering something to the man in the main seat in the carriage, the man nodded. "Go and have a look. Don't let anything happen. This time we are here to get the spirit ring. By the way, complete the things that Emperor Zuyi has told you." The two old men nodded, and one of them disappeared directly in the carriage. At this time, Yun Feng also received Yin's reminder in his mind. Someone is watching you. His strength is unknown, but he is definitely a powerful character. Yun Feng frowned, thinking it was Tang Hao, but Yin seemed to know what Yun Feng was thinking and shook his head. "No, Tang Hao's aura is different from the person watching you." After thinking for a long time, Yun Feng seemed to have thought of something. He subconsciously turned his head to look at the carriage going away. He probably knew who it was, but now Yun Feng didn't want to have anything to do with the other party, even if Yun Feng could get the next goal through him. But the risk was too great. After thinking of this, Yun Feng quickened his pace again. He left directly, and the aura behind Yun Feng, after following Yun Feng for a while, left directly. But before leaving, looking at Yun Feng's back, he murmured thoughtfully, "What a sensitive alert." But he didn't pay too much attention, just thought it was a talent. After leaving, Yun Feng, under Yin's reminder, could not help but sigh until the gazes behind him disappeared. "You are really cautious and careful. Even if there is a little bit of something special around you, you will be noticed directly. No wonder you can hide it until now. But for the sake of recognition, is it really necessary?" Yun Feng didn't understand, nor did he want to understand, but he respected. After all, in his opinion, their starting points were not wrong. It's just that they lost because they were not good at expressing themselves. In fact, some misunderstandings can be solved as long as they are talked out. There is no need to do this at all, wasting your talent. It can only be said to be a pity. Yin felt strange and asked Yun Feng directly, "Do you know the people in the carriage?" Yun Feng smiled and said directly, "Is it considered acquaintance, but also not acquaintance?" If it were an ordinary person, perhaps Yun Feng's words would be difficult to understand, but combined with what Yun Feng had said before, Yun understood instantly. "Did you know the people in the carriage in your previous life?" Yun Feng nodded and did not continue. After all, it is better to discuss these things less. Although Yun had given a warning, who knows if there would be someone stronger than Yun. He could hear it from the dark. Yun Feng still understood that walls have ears. The next morning, Yun Feng brought Zhuzuking directly to the grove to start training, but this time the training time was very short. After all, Yu Gang was still waiting for them. So Yun Feng did not continue. The sky was clear, looking at the rising orange-yellow roundness and the sky in the distance that was rendered golden. The two of them had almost recovered their physical strength after a simple rest. When Yun Feng and Zhu Zuqing returned home, they directly called Ning Rongrong and Zhao Wu to get up and eat. Yun Feng did not plan to do it himself. After all, he was a little tired. It was not physically, but mentally. Getting up early in the morning was a bit torturous. Zhu Zuqing did not care much. Although Zhao Wu and Ning Rongrong wanted to eat Yun Feng, they did not make trouble. The four of them walked directly into the cafeteria together. Before entering the cafeteria, Tang San already smelled a strong aroma. The strong meaty aroma was extremely tempting, and it seemed to be mixed with some other smells. When they entered the cafeteria, everyone was shocked by the scene in front of them. They were also one of the earliest students, but there were already two busy figures here. He kept looking at the pot on the fire, controlling the heat, and busy making various foods. He wore a white chef's hat on his head, and a few drops of sweat hung on his stiff face. It was Yue Gang, who was making breakfast. Tang San was eating and helping Yue Gang. Yun Feng greeted him when he saw this. "Master, Tang San, you are here so early." After Yue Gang and Tang San looked up and saw that it was Yun Feng and others, a smile suddenly appeared on their faces. "You are here." Yun Feng nodded, and then asked politely, "Do you need help?" After hearing this, the girl's eyes lit up, and Tang San also felt his saliva swallowing. After all, he had eaten the food cooked by Yun Feng. But Yue Gang's words completely dispelled everyone's longing. "It's okay, just take a rest, I'm almost done." Yun Feng didn't say much when he saw this. The resentment of the women was extremely strong at this time, including Tang San's heart. Why is this? But after Yun Feng sat down, the women didn't say anything. Soon, Yue Gang picked up a big bowl, scooped 2 large spoonfuls from the pot that kept emitting the aroma of meat, and handed it to Yun Feng and others. Then he grabbed 2 steamed buns and 2 eggs from the side and put them on a plate in front of them, one for each person, "And we'll talk if it's not enough. Eat it, you kids are growing up, you must have sufficient nutrition. The body is the foundation of cultivation. Without a good body, how can you withstand the huge soul power?" After taking the breakfast handed over by Yue Gang, everyone took a look and didn't say anything. Although it was completely incomparable to Yun Feng's, it was not inedible. At least it was much better than Ning Rongrong's. The rich broth had obviously been cooked for a long time. The meat cut into small pieces was already well cooked, and there was a faint medicinal fragrance in it. Tang San was not polite. Looking at the food in front of him, Tang San felt his stomach growling. Yue Gang's cooking skills were better than expected. The broth was rich and delicious, and the well-cooked meat almost melted in the mouth. Served with 2 steamed buns and 2 eggs, this was the first time Tang San had such a full breakfast since he came to Shrek Academy. The warm feeling continued to spread from his stomach to his whole body, and he felt indescribably comfortable. Chapter 137, Glutton. Looking at Tang San's appearance, Yue Gang was very satisfied in his heart. Although he put aside his own theory, his cooking skills were also a height that others could not reach. Didn't you see that his disciples were so satisfied? Before they finished eating, a voice came from outside. "It smells so good. What's going on in the cafeteria today?" It was Ma Hongjun, Daimabai and Oscar who walked into the cafeteria. After all, they didn't eat such good food in normal times. They also knew that the economic conditions in the academy were not good, so it was difficult to eat good food. Daimabai did have a little money, but couldn't he eat well by himself? Why should he donate to the school? And the food didn't get better after donating before. So Daimabai had seen through it a long time ago. This thing is a bottomless pit, don't have any hope at all. So when they saw such a sumptuous meal this time, they were so surprised. After looking at the clothes Yue Gang was wearing at this time, they understood instantly. This was made by Yue Gang for them. The previous misunderstandings were reduced a little, and then he asked directly, "Master, hello." Yue Gang nodded to them, but he didn't smile as he did to Tang San. To be precise, apart from Tang San, few people could see Yue Gang's smile. Oscar's nose moved. He was forcibly pulled up by Daimabai and Ma Hongjun. At this time, he was still a little sleepy, but the rich meat aroma gradually woke him up. Yue Gang handed them each a bowl of meat soup, a steamed bun and an egg. Compared with Tang San, it was half less, but they came later, so they naturally didn't know how much Tang San ate. so they didn't care. Ning Rong and others noticed this phenomenon. Although they couldn't eat much, such different treatment made them feel very uncomfortable. Tang San naturally noticed it. He felt warm in his heart instantly. It was very comfortable. After all, the teacher was still particularly caring for him, making him feel special. But Yun Feng didn't indulge Yao Gang. He ran to the kitchen and took out all the food that Yao Gang had prepared. He said as he took the food, "Master, I can eat more, you shouldn't mind, right?" Yun Feng picked up the dishes that Yao Gang had reserved for himself and ate them without waiting for Yao Gang to reply. What a joke! The food that Yao Gang prepared was not enough for him. His strength mainly came from drinking water, eating, and sleeping. It was impossible for him to eat this. Yao Gang hadn't finished speaking when he suddenly thought of something and became much kinder. He smiled reluctantly and said, "Since you can eat, then eat more. If it's not enough, remember to tell me and I'll make some more for you." After hearing this, Yun Feng immediately raised his head and said with a smile, "Then I'll trouble you, Master. I need 2 more buckets for this amount." Yun Feng pointed to the giant rice bucket that he had just brought over, which was almost half a person's height. Yao Gang's smile froze and he almost broke his defense. "You can eat so much." Before Yao Gang finished speaking, he was interrupted by his disciple Tang San. "Teacher, Yun Feng can indeed eat so much, and this is not his limit." A trace of suspicion flashed in Yun Feng's eyes, but he didn't say anything. It was just like a little more speculation. Maybe the main reason why Yun Feng can become stronger is because he eats a lot. In fact, Yao Gang's guess was not wrong, but no one would have thought that Yun Feng had a cheat. Yao Gang secretly remembered it in his heart and planned to experiment later. This is an opportunity to change his fate, and Yao Gang naturally didn't want to miss it. But if Yun Feng knew Yao Gang's idea, he would definitely laugh out loud. He gets stronger by eating, and Yao Gang gets fatter by eating. Soon, about half an hour later, Yun Feng was quite satisfied after eating all the rice buckets and dishes that Yao Gang brought again. Feeling the food in his body turned into hot currents that spread throughout his body. His muscles were also full of strength. Only then did he stop. There was no way. The bell for class rang. It was time to assemble. The sun shines on the earth, and the warm breath brings dryness and vitality. All things revive in the bright sunshine. A new day has begun. Yao Gang stood in the middle of the playground with his hands behind his back, looking at the 8 students in front of him who were arranged according to their age. He was the only teacher who came to class today. Flanders said that all the teachers in the academy will cooperate with him in teaching from today on. Yao Gang's eyes swept over everyone indifferently, and he looked quite decent. "Tomorrow's breakfast time. I hope to see you appear in the cafeteria earlier. Food needs time to digest after eating, and you can't do strenuous exercise immediately. I will prepare breakfast at dawn. If you don't come to eat within half an hour, you don't have to eat." Yao Gang's fierce eyes swept over the students. Of course, he could see that some people didn't listen, but he didn't emphasize it again. "I have learned about your respective martial spirits and abilities. From today, I will start intensive training for you. Daima Bai, step out." Daima Bai took a step forward, his evil eyes flickering. Maybe his private life was not very decent before, but in class, he was definitely a good student. The teacher's words were orders to him. Yao Gang looked at the tall Daima Bai and said, "I will give you a task. From now on, knock them down one by one without breaking any bones." Daima Bai was stunned for a moment. He looked at Yao Gang with surprise, as if asking, "Are you serious?" Yao Gang also realized that there was something wrong with his words, and added again, "This does not include Yun Feng." But Daima Bai's expression remained the same. After all, although Yun Feng did not want him to fight, there was still Tang San in it. He did not forget why he was abandoned. It was because of Tang San, so he had a natural fear of Tang San. His expression froze. "You are level 37 spirit power, and their highest is only level 31. Is there a problem?" Daima Bai turned his head to look at everyone, and his eyes fell on Tang San first. He could not care about others, but he had to be afraid of Tang San's amazing hidden weapons. "Tang San, step out." Yu Gang's voice sounded again. Tang San immediately stepped forward and stood beside Daima Bai. Yu Gang looked at Tang San and said, "You are not allowed to use your third spirit skill and your special weapons. You can start." "Wait a minute." It was Daima Bai who spoke. "Master, this is not fair. If Tang San can't use his full strength, then what's the point of us fighting? His level is lower than mine. If his spirit skills are restricted, then I will take too much advantage. Although Tang San is very powerful, I have confidence in myself." Chapter 138. Be careful. Obviously, Daima Bai wanted to regain his confidence. If he defeated Tang San this time, and Tang San didn't even use his third soul skill, what kind of duel is that? After listening to Dianban's words, Yu Gang felt a little disdainful in his heart, but still said calmly, "If he uses the third soul ring, you will have no chance." Control-type soul masters are the strongest in single combat before they encounter a restrained martial soul. Since you ask so, then let Tang San use the third soul ring. As partners, you also need to understand each other. Everyone else subconsciously retreated, and Yu Gang was no exception. Soul masters above level 30 already have considerable power, and they cannot control their soul power to the extent of being able to use their arms and fingers, so it is easy to hurt others by mistake. And he is only a great soul master at level 29, so naturally he doesn't want to be affected. Not to mention losing face. The key is that if he is hit, he can't bear it. For the sake of his own life, Yu Gang still dared not be careless. Daima Bai's evil eyes gradually turned red. Although the opponent in front of him was 6 levels lower than him, he did not dare to be careless. The students of Shrek Academy were all monsters, but the monsters that really scared him were only Yan Feng and Tang San. And Tang San was the most cruel to him. He cut off all his excitement and retreat. This time Tang San could not use hidden weapons, so he naturally wanted to get back at him. He also wanted to tell Tang San that he was not so easy to bully. "Be careful, I will not show mercy." Tang San just nodded and did not speak. He could clearly feel that Daima Bai's muscles were completely tense, and he looked like a tiger coming down the mountain. A pale light suddenly burst out from Daima Bai's body. His arms stretched out to both sides at the same time, his chest was straightened, his bones crackled, and his muscles swelled instantly, holding up his clothes. The air around him seemed to have become manic. Daima Bai's martial spirit, the white tiger, had completed the possession. Blue light rushed out from Tang San's body. After the transformation of the human-faced demon spider spirit ring, the blue-silver grass, which had become thinner, quietly extended from Tang San's feet. Slowly raising his right hand towards Daima Bai who was waiting, Tang San solemnly said, "Daima Bai, if you can break my third spirit skill, then you win." Daima Bai's spirit was lifted, and then he became angry. Not only him, but also the other students who were watching the game were concentrating on watching Tang San. They all wanted to see how powerful the third spirit skill Tang San got was after experiencing such intense pain. Daima Bai's evil eyes instantly merged into one, without considering at all the third spirit ring on his body. The crystal purple color was instantly released, and the third spirit skill White Tiger Vajra transformation burst out. The body that became strong due to the possession of the spirit White Tiger swelled again, its own muscles bulged exaggeratedly, the clothes on the upper body were completely blown up, revealing the terrifying muscle outline. Black horizontal stripes appeared on the skin, the pair of tiger paws became bigger, and the sharp blades on them turned into bright silver. The whole body was shrouded in a layer of strong golden light, as if it was gilded. The blood-red eyes revealed a bloodthirsty light, and the whole body was full of the domineering aura of the King of Beasts. When Daima Bai first fought with Tang San, he used the White Tiger Vajra transformation to instantly break Tang San's second spirit ring skill Parasitism. Facing Tang San again at this time, he used his strongest spirit skill again, with the purpose of breaking Tang San's blue-silver grass with sharp tiger claws. Be careful! The blue-silver grass under Tang San's feet moved instantly, and countless vines swarmed out. Some flew into the air, some slid close to the ground, and some bypassed from the side, rushing towards Daimabai from all directions. Daimabai was a strong attacking spirit master. Agility was not his strong point. Seeing the blue-silver grass entangled, he did not dodge. The golden light on his body suddenly became stronger, and he charged towards the blue-silver grass. Daimabai took only 3 steps before his strong body stopped moving. The first spirit ring skill of the blue-silver grass, entanglement, was activated. It tightly entangled his body. Daimabai subconsciously wanted to use his own strength to break free from the blue-silver grass, just like last time. However, he found something wrong the moment he exerted his strength. Injected with the attributes of the third spirit ring, the blue-silver grass became thinner, but its toughness increased geometrically. Daimabai exerted all his strength, but he was unable to break the blue-silver grass. Instead, the thinned blue-silver grass squeezed into his muscles. The spikes attached to the ghost vine quietly protruded. If Daimabai's skin had not become extremely hard in the state of White Tiger King Kong transformation, he would have been invaded by the toxins of the fusion of the ghost vine and the crypt spider. However, Daimabai, who was at level 37, was not so easy to deal with. Seeing that he could not break free from the blue-silver grass with brute force, his trapped hands immediately moved. The sharp blade on the tiger claw suddenly popped out, and at a certain frequency, it violently trembled against the blue-silver grass. Seeing that the sharp blade had gradually cut into the blue-silver grass, once Daimabai freed his hands and launched his soul power at full power, these amplified blue-silver grasses would not be able to trap him. Unfortunately, Tang San did not expect to be able to directly restrict Daimabai with these blue-silver grasses. After all, he was a soul master with level 37 soul power. His purpose was just to let the blue-silver grass temporarily restrict Daimabai for a short period of time so that he could use his third soul skill. The secret of a control-type soul master is to control his opponent from the beginning of the battle until the end of the battle. The blue-green light ball appeared when Daimabai's tiger palm blade began to cut the blue-silver grass. Daimabai naturally saw the light ball. Although his body was tied up, he was not unable to move. He knew that the light ball from Tang San's hand should be his third spirit ring, and he didn't care about his image at the moment, and turned his body to the side and fell to the side. What he needed now was time. As long as he was given enough time to break free from the blue-silver grass on his body, with the 37th level spirit power plus the doubled strength and attack increase of the White Tiger King Kong transformation, he was confident that he could break Tang San's third spirit ring. Under the surprised gaze of everyone, the blue-green light stretched out instantly, and a large net with a diameter of 5 meters fell from the sky. Although Daimabai's body rolled over, he was unable to escape from this range. The speed of the entire large net was too fast. Moreover, the blue-green light ball was shot by Tang San with the method of throwing hand arrows, and its own forward speed reached a terrifying level. Buzz! The huge spider web suddenly covered Daimabai, and he felt his whole body tightened, and his whole body was tightly bound by the huge spider web. The tiger claws cut through the inner layer of blue-silver grass. Just as Daimabai was about to continue cutting, a strong numbness and burning sensation suddenly came from the spider web that looked thinner than the blue-silver grass. Even with the White Tiger King Kong's strength, he couldn't dispel the numbness. The strong stickiness wrapped Daimabai's body like a dumpling. The spider web kept tightening. The sharp edge of the tiger claws touched the spider web and was directly bounced away, leaving no trace. Chapter 139. Can't you pull it? Daimabai exerted his soul power with all his strength, hoping to break free from the paralysis and spider web, but the harder he tried, the tighter the spider web bound him became. The feeling of having no place to use his strength immediately made the evil-eyed white tiger extremely depressed. Is the gap between him and them really that big? The feeling of paralysis became stronger and stronger, and the soul power of resistance was naturally weakened. The spider web flashing with blue-green light kept tightening, and the bones on Daimabai's body began to crackle. It's okay, Yu Gang said calmly, but his eyes were full of satisfaction. Feng didn't have any other feelings, but simply felt that Daimabai was a cabbage. Although it's not easy for the strong attack system to beat the control system, it shouldn't be like this. Can't you pull? What about your long-range soul skills? For this game, Yun Feng could only say that Daimabai was too stupid. Tang San hurriedly strode forward, raised his hand and wiped the spider web. Strangely enough, the sticky spider web turned into light again, quietly blended into Tang San's palm and disappeared. Even the blue-silver grass wrapped around Daimabai turned into streams of light and disappeared. This is my third soul skill, spider web binding. Although Tang San didn't like it, he still explained it to him. At the same time, he held his hand and absorbed the spiderweb toxins on Daimabai's body back into his body. Yu Gang also walked up to the two of them at this time, looked at Daimabai who had a depressed face, and said calmly, "Control is a unique ability of control-type soul masters. Generally speaking, the attacks of control-type soul masters are very weak, but the control power is extremely strong. Below level 60, an excellent control-type soul master is fully capable of controlling opponents who are within 10 levels of himself. In addition to the martial spirit that can restrain the control-type soul master, the best way to face a control-type soul master is to not give him the opportunity to control him. As a power attack-type soul master, the control-type soul master is your nemesis. In this case, you must distance yourself from the control-type soul master." Glancing at the others, Yu Gang continued, "Every soul master has his own strengths and weaknesses. There is no perfect soul master in this world. But, having said this, Yu Gang paused. However, there is a perfect team. The power of one person cannot reach absolute strength, but a team can reach perfection with tacit cooperation. With the complementary abilities of each other, it is enough to face enemies of any attributes." Tang San's third soul skill has strong control, but it also has extremely obvious weaknesses. That is the limit on the number of times it can be used and the range of control. If it is a spirit master of the agility attack system, as long as you try to pay attention to the situation when he attacks and get out of his attack distance as much as possible, no matter how strong the spider web is, it will not be able to bind him. You are whole. When facing the enemy at the same time, what you must do first is to make up for each other's shortcomings and give full play to everyone's advantages. Then, you will become invincible in the same level. Daimabai, continue your lessons today. Next, you will face the combination of Zhuzukin and Ningrong and the combination of Oscar and Ma Hongjun. Daimabai had already retracted his white tiger Vajra transformation at this time, and the light in his evil eyes flickered. This time he just nodded vigorously, but did not say anything. Yu Gang turned his eyes to Tang San. "Because you used your third soul skill on Daimabai before, then, you will share an opponent for him." "Dawu, let me see your third soul skill." Dawu giggled and walked towards Tang San. "Dao San, you better be careful." The two battles started almost at the same time. Tang San faced Dawu, and Daimabai faced Ma Hongjun and Oscar. Looking at Daimabai who looked unhappy, Ma Hongjun couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. "Boss Dai, you won't put the evil fire on me, right?" Daimabai said unhappily. "Only you have the evil fire." "No, now you don't have the evil fire either. Anyway, stop talking nonsense. Come on." As he said that, he rushed towards Ma Hongjun. Ma Hongjun didn't dare to neglect it. While quickly completing his martial soul possession, he took the two sausages handed by Oscar and quickly retreated. Facing the aggressive Daimabai, Ma Hongjun didn't dare to let him get close, and immediately used his second soul ring skill, Phoenix Rising in Fire. Strong purple flames suddenly rouse, and the scorching temperature instantly spread in the air. The intensity of the flames was obviously stronger than in the starred Great Forest. After encountering many dangers in the starred Great Forest, not only Tang San's strength advanced, but everyone improved under pressure. Shrek students are geniuses, and in a crisis, their potential is naturally more oppressed. Feeling the heat of the phoenix flames on Ma Hongjun, Daimabai had no intention of retreating, and rushed towards Ma Hongjun. Although the flames on the fat man's body would cause him harm, it was not to the extent that it could seriously injure him. But if the fat man allowed him to attack at close range, he would definitely die miserably. In the past, Ma Hongjun would definitely panic when he saw Daimabai approaching. Although his soul power was not low, his actual combat experience was far less than that of Daimabai, Tang San and others, and he always relied on the domineering flames. But at this time, facing Dime Bai's attack, Ma Hongjun was not panicked at all, but instead showed a smirk on his face. Dime Bai would not give up his attack because of the other party's expression. Just when he was about to pounce on Ma Hongjun's first soul ring suddenly lit up, and a mouthful of phoenix fire line as thick as an arm spewed out. After the battle in the Xingdu Great Forest, Ma Hongjun found that the phoenix fire line used in the Phoenix Rising would be several times more powerful. Although it also consumed a lot of soul power, the effect was excellent. It can even be compared with the power of some soul masters' third soul skills. This is the benefit of a naturally strong martial soul. Dime Bai snorted coldly. He seemed to have already thought of Ma Hongjun's move. His first and second soul rings lit up at the same time, and the White Tiger Body Barrier and White Tiger Fierce Light Wave moved at the same time. The strong white light and purple fire collided violently in the air. Although the Phoenix Fire Line was much more powerful under the amplification of the Phoenix Rising, the gap between Ma Hongjun and Dime Bai's soul power was as high as 10 levels, and he still suffered a loss. With a muffled groan, his body retreated rapidly. Dime Bai had a lot of combat experience. He pouncing on him like a ferocious white tiger with his claws popped out. "Boss Dai, I'm not fighting alone." Ma Hongjun was not panicked at all. Just as Dime Bai was about to pounce on him, Ma Hongjun suddenly ran backwards at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, his body was already dozens of meters away. Dime Bai missed and was stunned. Although Ma Hongjun's martial spirit had the ability to fly, his current spirit power was far from enough to activate the martial spirit to fly. Chapter 140 Zizan, you lose. Moreover, the speed just now was not the speed that Ma Hongjun could show. Recalling Ma Hongjun's words, Dime Bai suddenly understood. It was Oscar's mushroom sausage. With the help of the mushroom sausage, Ma Hongjun could travel extremely fast for a period of time, and Dime Bai asked himself that he could not catch up. But this state is time limited, so Dime Bai is not in a hurry. Dime Bai sneered in his heart, deflected his body, dodged the phoenix fire line spewed from behind by Ma Hongjun, and attacked Oscar not far away like a tiger pouncing on its food. First solve this auxiliary, and in 1 minute, the battle will be over. Unfortunately, his wishful thinking still fell through. Oscar was well prepared. Seeing Dime Bai's target turning to himself, before he could get close, he had already eaten a mushroom sausage and kept pulling Dime Bai. Although Dime Bai's White Tiger Fierce Light Wave can attack remotely, the distance is only within 20 meters. If it extends to a farther distance, it will consume a lot of soul power. In the previous battle with Tang San, he had used the White Tiger Diamond Shield, which consumed a lot of soul power. Naturally, he did not dare to consume too much at this time. Seeing Oscar and Ma Hongjun eating a recovery sausage each in the distance, Oscar quickly created his strange martial spirit beside Ma Hongjun, while Ma Hongjun continued to spit out the next phoenix fire line from a distance. With the help of the recovery sausage, his soul power consumption was replenished to a certain extent, and he did not have to worry about it being exhausted in a short time. Under the amplification of the phoenix bathing in fire, Ma Hongjun's phoenix fire line was extremely powerful, and the purple flames would leave gullies when burning the ground. What made Dime Bai even more angry was that the fat man kept sweeping across the sky with flames, and he was not very good at agility. He was forced into a mess for a while. Only relying on the first soul ring skill White Tiger Body Barrier could not stop the fat man's flames. As a last resort, when he could not dodge, he could only use the White Tiger Fierce Light Wave to consume the fat man. However, with the support of the recovery sausage on one side, a lot of soul power had just been consumed on the other side. As one side increased, the other side decreased. When the fat man ate the second mushroom sausage and kept pulling rapidly, Dime Bai's soul power was already a little behind. If he faced the fat man at his peak state, Dime Bai could still rely on his strong soul power to fight with the opponent. After all, Oscar's recovery sausage can only restore a small amount of soul power at a time. Making mushroom sausages also consumes Oscar. If he persists for a while, these two guys will naturally slow down. But at this time, Daimabai has the consumption of the White Tiger Vajra shield before, and Oscar has reached level 30. Making recovery sausages is almost instantaneous. It seems that he doesn't need to consume soul power and keeps throwing it to Ma Hongjun. With the support of a large number of recovery sausages, the fat man's combat endurance is obviously longer. When Ma Hongjun ate the third mushroom sausage, Daimabai's White Tiger Fierce Light Wave was already unable to block the fat man's Phoenix Fire line. Soul power is no longer enough to support consumption. At this time, Tang San and Zhao Wu were also fighting on the other side. While Daimabai and Ma Hongjun were fighting, Tang San and Zhao Wu were also fighting. Tang San and Zhao Wu had fought countless times before. The blue-silver grass immediately covered the body. As long as Zhao Wu entered this area, she would immediately use the entanglement skill. Tang San was familiar with Zhao Wu, so how could Zhao Wu not be familiar with him? After all, they had fought countless times at Notting Junior Spirit Master Academy. Although the blue-silver grass had changed a lot after Tang San had the third spirit ring, Zhao Wu had observed the previous battle with Daimabai and roughly understood the extent of Tang San's martial spirit change. Zhao San, do you need to be so vigilant? Zhao Wu's voice sounded a little resentful, with a bit of grievance in her voice. Tang San subconsciously raised his head to look at her. Although he had realized that something was wrong when he raised his head, he was still a little late and saw Zhao Wu's eyes that had turned pink. Zhao Wu's second spirit ring skill, Charm, was activated. Tang San felt dizzy in his head. Fortunately, he closed his eyes at the first moment and did not let Zhao Wu's skills fully exert their power. But after reaching level 30, Zhao Wu's spirit skills also increased to a certain extent, which caused Tang San's brain to fall into a blank for a short time. Tang San cursed himself for being confused. Since coming to Shrek Academy, he has not practiced with Zhao Wu, and he has relaxed a little. If he had activated the purple demon eye right away, he would not be as passive as he is now. The purple demon eye is the nemesis of Zhao Wu's charming spirit skills. Even Zhao Wu herself did not expect that she would succeed. Seeing Tang San close his eyes, the luster on the blue-silver grass was gone, and she naturally would not miss this opportunity. She touched the ground with one foot and jumped towards Tang San silently. Strictly speaking, Zhao Wu should also be considered a spirit master of the agility attack system. The only difference between her and Zhuzukin is that her attack method must be close to the body to perform, while Zhuzukin can just touch and run. Taking the assassin route, the brain went blank for a short time, but in the subconscious, everyone would protect themselves. Tang San raised his right hand without hesitation, and the blue-green light moved again. The light expanded instantly, and the spider web with a diameter of 5 meters instantly blocked all the directions in front of Tang San that could allow the enemy to attack. Zhao Wu's attack was no exception. At this time, it seemed that Zhao Wu's moves were completely outdated, and there was no possibility of changing direction. She was about to rush into Tang San's spider web. This was a spider web that even Daimabai could not break free of. With her soul power, once entangled, she would only be paralyzed and fall to the ground, losing her ability to fight. But Zhao Wu was like Ma Hongjun, who had mushroom sausage to help speed up. Facing Tang San's spider web, she was not panicked at all. Just as Zhu Zhaogang said, any soul skill could be restrained. Seeing the spider web approaching, Zhao Wu's third soul ring suddenly flashed, and her third soul skill was finally displayed in front of everyone for the first time. The purple light of Zhao Wu's third soul ring suddenly bloomed, but unlike the others, the purple light released from her body actually wrapped her body in an instant. The next moment, Zhao Wu disappeared out of thin air. At this time, Tang San just broke free from Zhao Wu's charm skill. With the practice of the purple demon pupil and his firm willpower, coupled with the innate restraint of the skill of charm by the authentic mind method of Zhuan Yanggong, he was only stunned for a short time. When he returned to normal, he saw Zhao Wu's body disappearing in the purple light. Zhao Wu disappeared, and Tang San's spider web suddenly fell into the air. When the purple light reappeared, it was already behind the spider web, or to be more precise, in front of Tang San. Zhao Wu's slender legs had kicked Tang San in the face, and at the same time, her giggling voice came. Zhao San, you lose. Chapter 141. Zhao Wu, speechless. In previous battles, once Zhao Wu got close to him, Tang San had no way to stop her without using hidden weapons. After reaching level 30, Dao Wu's spirit power increased significantly. After saying this, Dao Wu directly activated her first spirit skill, Waist Bow, and used her ankle to lift Tang San's body off the ground. With the increase in spirit power level, Dao Wu's waist bow can now increase her waist power by more than 120%. Which is definitely not something that any spirit master of the same level can resist with strength. Seeing Dao Wu's body leaning back and the great force coming from her neck, Tang San shouted in surprise. Not necessarily. The blue-green light appeared again, and this time, it was released towards Tang San himself. The spider web binding was instantaneous, and the huge spider web was about to wrap Dao Wu up. But Dao Wu smiled and activated her third spirit skill again. Directly passing through Tang San's spider web, Dao Wu's waist bow was successfully activated, and Tang was thrown out directly, and fell to the ground with a plop. Hiss, it hurts. Tang San covered his head, which had just landed on the ground. It was obviously hit hard. Okay, you can all stop. Yu Gang's voice sounded at the right time. After all, seeing his beloved disciple injured, he immediately called for a stop. At this time, Oscar had stopped from the rapid pulling. At this time, Daima Bai remembered that Oscar ate his own sausage, and the effect was weakened to a certain extent. Unfortunately, his spirit power was far from enough, otherwise, now would be a chance to turn the tables. Tang San looked at Dao Wu in front of him, and his heart was very uncomfortable. After defeating him, Dao Wu didn't even look at him more, but turned around and went to where Yun Feng was, and told Yun Feng about her performance just now with an excited face. Only he was like a clown, waiting for Dao Wu to help him. Yu Gang didn't seem to see Tang San's embarrassment, and asked Ma Hongjun in the air to stop and scan the 5 people who had started the fight before. Tell me how you feel. Daima Bai was extremely depressed at this time. It was okay for him to lose to Tang San's third soul skill. After all, Tang San was a control-type soul master. But the fat man Ma Hongjun had never been his opponent, and he actually failed this time. He immediately said unconvinced, if my soul power was at its peak, they would have no chance. Daima Bai's words also made Yun Feng laugh out loud. Daima Bai was already unhappy, and after hearing the voice, he said directly without any thought, what, am I wrong? After turning around and seeing that it was Yun Feng, Daima Bai was stunned for a moment. Just as he was about to say something, he saw Yun Feng said nonchalantly, do enemies who want to kill you only come when your soul power is at its strongest? Daima Bai was stunned for a moment, but Yun Feng's simple words left him speechless. Yun Feng continued, knowing that Oscar had mushroom sausages to offer, why did you give Ma Hongjun the chance to eat the sausages? If you had stopped him at the beginning, or tried to save your soul power, you should have won this battle. Ma Hongjun hooked Oscar's shoulders. It's great, I didn't expect that I could beat Dai Boss one day. How can I describe it in one word? Wow, your sausage is really useful. Oscar laughed. Of course, after all, we are soul masters now. After hearing what the two said, Yun Feng did not say anything, but Yu Gang looked at them coldly. Daima Bai has a problem, and what Yun Feng said is not wrong, but are you very proud? Ma Hongjun, let me ask you, when Oscar's mushroom sausage was ineffective, why did you let him fall behind? If Daima Bai still had the strength to strike and kill him at this time, what would you do? Ma Hongjun looked at Yu Gang in amazement. Yu Gang turned to Oscar, and you, a food-type soul master, the most important thing is to save your life as much as possible under any circumstances. If he doesn't take the initiative to help you, won't you continue to hide behind him? If Daima Bai had enough soul power, he would be the first to get rid of you who are alone. If it was an enemy, you would be dead now. Soul Master? Even a food-type Soul Master at the titled BUO level is vulnerable in front of a battle Soul Master. Daima Bai, Oscar, and Ma Hongjun looked at each other, and no one could say anything. Yun Feng just watched Yu Gang pretending to be cool. In fact, in Yun Feng's opinion, only Daima Bai had problems. As for Ma Hongjun and Oscar, aren't they just making up stories? The battle is over. You also called for a halt. You still allow others to relax their vigilance. It's outrageous. After seeing the reactions of several people, Yu Gang was very satisfied. After all, it seems that they all believe in him. Dao-san. Yu Gang turned to Tang-san. Tang-san hurriedly stepped forward. Teacher, I'm here. Tell me about your experience fighting Zhao Wu. Tang-san blushed. Teacher, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been careless. I was bewitched by Zhao Wu's second soul skill, which put me in a passive situation. I rashly released the spider web without knowing what her third soul skill was, which put me in an even more passive situation. Yu Gang nodded. It's good to know you're wrong. Your mistake is the most serious. A lion needs to fight a rabbit with all its strength. You actually committed an unforgivable sin at the beginning of the fight. If the enemy's attack was more fierce, you would have died. Remember, a control-type soul master should not only control the enemy, but also control yourself. Finally, Yu Gang looked at Zhao Wu. Your third soul skill should be teleportation, but there is a distance limit. If I guess correctly, this should be the ability of the lightning rabbit. Your third soul ring is a 1,000-year-old lightning rabbit. Teleportation is one of the rarest soul skills among all soul skills. You gave me a big surprise. At the same time, teleportation combined with your soft skills will greatly increase the lethality. But why did you conclude that you had one when your ankle was wrapped around Tang-san's neck? If you were more careful at that time, when you saw Tang-san use the third spider web binding, you didn't rush for success, and teleported away from his attack range before continuing to move, then you would have won, instead of taking such a big risk. Zhao Wu always felt very strange when listening to Yu Gang's words. Don't you know your own soul skills? Although a soul beast of 100,000 years does not mean that you have lived for 100,000 years, does it still need others to teach you the instinct of fighting and teleporting away? Doesn't this let Tang-san, who is a control system, play his role? If a soul master of this type does not pursue the victory, then the previous opportunity will not be created in vain. If the charm alerts Tang-san, it will be extremely difficult to hit him. Chapter 142 Yu Gang, counsel with me, please. Zhao Wu was sure now, Yu Gang was just talking nonsense and was lecturing him, but considering that he was Tang-san's teacher, Zhao Wu still endured it. But Zhao Wu's silence made Yu Gang start to make a fuss. Yu Gang's stiff face looked very ugly. Is this the so-called monster genius? I am very disappointed with your performance today. Everyone has made unforgivable mistakes. Now, all of you must be punished. Run forward, supervise each other, and do not use spirit power. Run from the academy to Soto City and back. Before lunch, I require you to run 10 rounds. When you finish running, you can eat. Tang-san, your mistake is the most serious, so you run 12 rounds. Act immediately and start. Tang-san ran out first. Yu Gang's words were no different from orders to him. Dai Mabai, Oscar, and Ma Hongjun followed closely. Only Zhao Wu, Juzuking, Ning Rong and Yun Feng were still watching from the side. They did not set off immediately. After seeing this scene, Yu Gang knew that the difficulties were coming. After sorting out her thoughts, she said directly, "Why don't you go?" Ning Rong blinked, glanced at the people around her, then looked at Yu Gang, and frowned. What did we do wrong? Why do we have to run? Yu Gang's mouth curved slightly. I was just waiting for this sentence. You are a team. How can a team member be punished while you just stand by and watch? After saying this, Ning Rong pondered for a moment, but she quickly reacted and said directly to Yu Gang, "You are confusing the concepts, and what's the use of doing this? If you want us to train, you can just say it directly. Why say it's a punishment? Does this make your perverted heart feel much more comfortable?" Yu Gang was speechless after Ning Rong's words. You me? What's wrong with me? Ning Rong folded her arms, and said with disdain in her eyes, "If you can't explain it, I won't go." Juzukin and Zhao Wu didn't express their opinions next to them. They also felt that this was unreasonable. Yu Gang looked at the people in front of him with a headache. Finally, he sighed and said softly, "My training this time is a team tacit understanding training. Don't you want to see the effect of my training? As long as you participate, you will know that what I said just now was completely to stimulate your team consciousness. Yu Gang's submission was unexpected by Yun Feng. It seems that evil people still need to be dealt with by evil people. Although Ning Rong is not a bad person, the title of Little Witch is not a joke. Ning Rong's personality is restrained only when she is with Yun Feng. But it is not the case in front of everyone. So Yu Gang's idea of establishing authority was completely ruined. After the three women looked at each other, they all looked at Yun Feng. Yun Feng didn't care much. After all, even if it was 100 laps, it was not a big problem with his current physical fitness. Just treat it as a way to digest food after a meal, although the food in the stomach has long been converted into energy. Of course, Yun Feng did not intend to let Yu Gang's plan go as he wished. He also had his own selfish motives. He didn't want to see the three girls get along better with the people in Shrek Academy. So he nodded and said directly, "Let's go and participate. We can't do anything special, right? If the method is not suitable, we can make a new one." Juzukin was the first to agree to Yun Feng's words. After all, in her heart, Yun Feng is the real master. After just a few days of simple training, she can already feel a significant improvement, especially in terms of reaction speed. Static and dynamic things, everything slowed down when she was running at high speed. Physical strength also increased, so she also wanted to experiment. As for Wu and Ning Rong, they didn't think so much. After all, in their hearts, Yun Feng is a genius who is more talented than them. He has his own considerations for everything he does, so he naturally won't talk big. Seeing that Yun Feng said so, and the three girls agreed, Yu Gang smiled and said directly, "Please cooperate with me later." Please. Everyone naturally understood what Yu Gang meant, and did not refute, but nodded directly. When everyone and Yu Gang arrived at the entrance of the academy, Tang San and his group were already waiting there. Yu Gang also pretended to clear his throat and said, "Here are the prepared rocks. Each of you carries one and runs with the weight. You must remember that you are a group. If one person fails to complete the punishment, then everyone will have no food." Although they cannot use soul power, they are all soul masters. The soul power has transformed their bodies for many years, making their bodies much stronger than ordinary people. If they just run, it will not achieve Yu Gang's goal. The distance from the academy to Soto City is not too far, but it is about 3 or 4 kilometers. 10 times back and forth, it will be about 60 or 70 kilometers. In addition, it is not an easy task. After Yu Gang finished speaking, everyone also found that Yu Gang still treated them differently in terms of punishment, or it was already prepared. 8 bamboo baskets woven with bamboo contained stones of different sizes. Each bamboo basket had a strap and a name written on it. Among them, Yun Feng's was the largest. Tang San, Dai Mabai, and Ma Hongjun had the next largest stones in their bamboo baskets. Dawu, Juzuking, and Oscar had smaller stones than the previous 3. Only Ning Rong had the smallest stone in her bamboo basket. When Ning Rong saw the stones in the bamboo basket, her dissatisfaction was reduced a bit. At least there was a little difference. Yu Gang looked at the 8 people who ran away with their bamboo baskets on their backs, and a faint smile appeared on his stiff face. He muttered to himself, "It's impossible to be simple. I changed all the stones." Yu Gang's words were naturally directed at Yun Feng. After all, he also saw Yun Feng's disdainful look before. He must let Yun Feng know that the effect of his training is definitely better than his own. He also knew what Juzukin meant by what she said before last night. Isn't it just that Yun Feng created a training method for her? He wants to see whose is better. As long as Yun Feng can't hold on, he will naturally win. And he must squeeze Yun Feng to the limit. Isn't it a bit too harsh of a punishment to make them run long distances with a load without using soul power? That's hundreds of kilometers. Not to mention noon. I'm afraid they won't be able to finish it even after dark. I didn't expect you to be more ruthless than me. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143 Cheating. Flanders came to Yu Gang's side without knowing when, and said with some worry. Yao Gang said calmly in response to Flanders' question, "Only those who have endured hardships can become the best. I have carefully calculated their physical conditions. They will not be exhausted. What's more, do you think that they had such a good breakfast for nothing? Without going through the stage of sharing weal and woe, how can they become true partners who trust each other with their backs?" Flanders raised his hands and surrendered. "Okay, I'll listen to you. You can do whatever you want. I know that you value these children even more than I do, but I have to remind you again that the funds of the academy are limited." "And can you really do that?" Yao Gang was not polite in front of Flanders, and snorted coldly. "Can a living person be suffocated to death? Do you think I'm you? A dignified soul saint can't even get the funds for an academy." His words were full of contempt, but Flanders was not a man without temper after all. He looked at Yao Gang and said angrily, "That's because I don't want to be servile and dependent on others. Otherwise, it would not be difficult for me to become rich and powerful with my strength. I want to see how you solve this problem. Your face is much thinner than mine." Yao Gang glanced at Flanders and his mouth twitched a few times. It was obvious that Flanders just said that he was thick-skinned, which hurt him a little. Even though it was the truth, he couldn't help it after hearing it. He snorted coldly and said, "Then you wait and see." Carrying the bamboo basket, Tang San almost ran out in the first place. It was not until he started running that he realized that this punishment was really heavy. If they could use spirit power, it would not be a problem for them to cover a distance of 60 or 70 kilometers in half a day, and they could even finish it easily. However, without using spirit power and carrying weight, it would not be easy to complete. "Yun Feng, everyone, let's stop for a while." Tang San suddenly stopped while running. At this time, he had only run a short distance, and sweat was already slightly on his forehead. Obviously, he had realized that something was wrong. Yun Feng didn't feel anything. Even if he couldn't use his soul power, he didn't feel anything. Although Tang San and the others had consumed their soul power before, they were a little uncomfortable now. But this time they were running without using soul power. In terms of physical strength, they were obviously one of the best people in Shrek Academy. At this time, Dawu, Ma Hongjun and Oscar were already hundreds of meters behind. Juzukin behind them had caught up with them, and Ning Rong fell behind. Yun Feng had been running beside Tang San, not surpassing or falling behind. He just kept speeding up, giving Tang San hints to keep speeding up his pace, quickly consuming Tang San's physical strength. Now after hearing what Tang San said to him, Yun Feng also smiled. "Tang San, what's wrong?" But he still stopped and looked at Tang San with some confusion. 10 round trips is not short, run quickly. Tang San thought for a while and then said slowly, "Yun Feng, remember, the teacher just said before we went out that we are a whole, and he asked us to complete this punishment together. You see, Juking and Rong are also punished with us. In addition to me running 12 round trips, you must also complete it at the same time." From my understanding of the teacher, this time he is not only punishing us, but also letting us exercise our bodies. The teacher told me yesterday that the body is the foundation of a spirit master. More importantly, this punishment is probably a test of us by the teacher. What he wants to test is our collective nature. We are a whole. In terms of physical strength, maybe you and I can support it, but they may not. I think we must think of some ways to see how we can complete this test together. Yun Feng saw Tang San like this, and actually felt a little sigh in his heart. It's not that Tang San is so great as a person, but the accumulation of his previous life. His mind is better than others in Shrek Academy in some aspects. No wonder these people from Shrek are willing to work hard for him later. Yun Feng didn't want to say anything about this. After knowing everyone's talents, Tang San also had some ideas in his heart. At least now it's good to build a good relationship with these people and improve the status of this small team. Although some things have happened before, Tang San is not worried. After all, some can be won over. Those who can't be won over, those who are hostile to oneself, find an opportunity to completely kill or destroy them. Okay, let's discuss it first and wait for them to catch up. Soon, the people behind caught up, and Tang San repeated his views on today's punishment. Oscar frowned slightly, then looked around and said slowly, "I think what Tang San said is right. The master should be testing us. Our loads are different. The master should have deliberately calculated the limit of our physical strength. In Yun Feng's case, he should be able to complete it within the limit, and even have physical strength left. For example, the fat man should have just reached the limit, and naturally there are also people who have exceeded the limit. Only with everyone's cooperation can it be possible to complete it. I am afraid that I and Rong will bear the limit. At the end, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. He had only run 2 kilometers, but he could already feel that the bamboo basket on his back was getting heavier and heavier. Sweat appeared on his forehead. There was still such a long distance to go. He asked himself that he would definitely not be able to hold on. The fat man Ma Hongjun said carelessly, "Why don't we cheat? Let's secretly eat some of Zhao's recovery sausages." "Are you afraid of not having enough physical strength?" "Cheating?" Oscar glared at the fat man unhappily. He was a smart man and would never do stupid things. "Fatty, I just want to ask you one question. Are you sure that the master didn't ask other teachers to supervise us? If cheating is discovered, I'm afraid the punishment will not be as simple as it is now. Moreover, the master must have a deep meaning for punishing us like this, and it will only be good for us. Now we have to think of a way to save as much energy as possible." Yun Feng was speechless after hearing this. It was really rare. Even so, Yun Feng believed that as long as it was handled well, Yun Feng would have to count money for himself even if he sold them out. Oscar's words were actually unanimously agreed by Ma Hongjun and Dai Mabai, and even Tang San nodded thoughtfully. Tang San suddenly said, "Although the teacher asked us to run with weights and not use spirit power, the total weight of the 8 of us is so much. As long as we can complete the punishment with these weights, it will be fine. Oscar, give me your stone." Chapter 144 In the face of absolute strength, any teamwork is meaningless. Oscar was delighted at first, and just when he was about to give the stone to Tang San, Yun Feng said directly, "There is no need for this at all. It's not that we don't take care of them, but it's better to run together, running at a constant speed according to the slowest speed, so that everyone can gather together, and a constant speed is the most energy-saving. If he can't hold on at that time, can't I give it to you?" Yun Feng's words also made everyone dazed for a moment. Yes, but although Yun Feng said so, but before running, Yun Feng had already taken all the stones in Zhao Wu and Ning Rong's backpacks. The 2 women wanted to refuse, but seeing that Yun Feng didn't feel anything when running with them on his back, they gave up immediately. As for why he didn't help Zhu Zuqing, Yun Feng wanted to do it before, but after seeing Zhu Zuqing's eyes, Yun Feng gave up. People who work hard should not be denied. When they got back on the road, there was no doubt that Oscar and Ning Rong, as auxiliary spirit masters, had the worst physical strength among the few people, so everyone ran at their speed. They walked at a constant speed, heading towards the direction of Soto City. The first round trip was completed at this constant speed. When they really started running, they gradually felt the pressure brought by the weight. If it was just an ordinary run, even if they didn't use soul power, this round trip of about 6 kilometers would not be a burden for them. The transformation of the body by soul power made them have physical strength far beyond that of ordinary people. Even auxiliary soul masters like Oscar and Ning Rong were no exception. With the weight, the body obviously became uncomfortable. After one round trip, Oscar was already sweating profusely, and the others also showed some fatigue. Ning Rong was undoubtedly the one with the worst physical strength among the crowd. Although Oscar was also an auxiliary soul master, he had broken through level 30 after all, and his body had the bonus of the 3rd soul ring in various attributes. But Ning Rong didn't have the weight on his body, so the gap between the 2 was about the same. Even Ning Rong's condition was much better than Oscar's. After seeing that several people had become like this, Yun Feng's mouth suddenly showed a playful smile. His eyes were directly locked on the clouds. Then he blinked. He started to speed up. In a blink of an eye, Yun Feng was carrying 3 people's stones and started to run. He didn't care about the people behind him. Flanders and others hiding in the dark were stunned. This is Yu Gang's training method, which will definitely make them convinced. What's going on? Yun Feng was carrying so many stones, the weight of several people was all on one person. and he was fine. He could still run so fast. And from his appearance, it seemed that he had discovered that he and others were watching him in secret. This is too outrageous. They knew about the weight of everyone. Tang San and Dai Bai were carrying a 15-kilogram stone. Douluo, Zhuzuqing and Ma Hongjun were carrying 10 kilograms. Ning Rong and Oscar were only 5 kilograms. But looking at them at this time, it felt like they were carrying a mountain. Their bodies were getting heavier and heavier, and they could only grit their teeth to maintain a constant speed. Because Yun Feng's soul power was the highest, Yu Gang prepared 50 kilograms for Yun Feng at the beginning. It was to completely dispel Yun Feng's arrogant state. Although he didn't say anything, Yu Gang was very upset by Yun Feng's constant indifference to him. There was a little bit of revenge in his mind, but Yun Feng's performance made Flanders and others completely at a loss for words. Why did a good training become so strange when it came to Yun Feng? The gate of the academy was in sight. To everyone's surprise, Yu Gang was standing at the gate of the academy watching them finish their first round trip and run back. Next to Yu Gang, there was a table with a large bucket on it. Everyone drink some water and continue. Yu Gang's words were always concise. The bucket contained warm water, slightly salty, as if salt was added. Under Yu Gang's supervision, everyone was only allowed to drink a glass of warm water, and they were immediately urged to embark on the road of punishment again. As time passed, the big fireball in the air gradually moved closer to the center, and the temperature it brought was gradually increasing. After drinking the salt water, everyone's physical strength was replenished. Tang San and Dai Bai were fine, but Oscar and Ning Rong clearly felt that they had regained some strength. Looking at the students' gradually receding backs, Yu Gang stood there expressionless, but when he saw that they came back together, he clearly showed some satisfaction in his eyes. As for why Yun Feng was not in the team, Yu Gang knew it very well. Yun Feng had come back once before them. He left again without even drinking water. Yu Gang was very confused, but seeing Yun Feng's speed, it was obviously to compete with his companions. I believe it won't take long before his physical strength will be completely exhausted. So Yu Gang didn't care much. What's the use of being fast? If you have the ability, you can be so fast all the way. But soon Yu Gang was completely confused. The second round trip, the third round trip, the fourth round trip, until he finished running 10 times. Yu Gang was completely confused, because his disciple was still running the third round trip. Yun Feng had already finished the run. Yun Feng proved it with his strength. In the face of absolute strength, any teamwork is meaningless. It can even be completed in excess. After running, Yun Feng stood in front of Yu Gang, sat calmly on the chair that Yu Gang brought, and drank a sip of water comfortably. Yu Gang was numb all over. How could Yun Feng continue his teaching like this? He didn't play by the rules at all. Yu Gang wanted to ask Yun Feng several times, but after looking at Yun Feng's face, Yu Gang didn't want to say anything. It was really too much, because every time he wanted to ask, Yun Feng would directly say to Yu Gang, "Master, I was so tired from training just now, and suddenly I really want to eat something. Otherwise you can make me something to eat. I'll just watch over here. My legs are so sore." Yu Gang wanted to refuse, but suddenly he thought of something, and nodded in agreement. He wanted to see why Yun Feng had such strong physical fitness and strength. This has completely broken his cognition. It's really too incredible. While Yu Gang was cooking, Yun Feng was not idle either. Instead, he started running again. He quickly found the people who were going forward together. Looking at Zhuzuqing's current state, he knew that she had almost reached her limit. Yun Feng wanted to help, but Zhuzuqing still refused. Yun Feng had no choice but to carry Ning Rong who was almost fainted. He ran back directly. He wanted to break this balance. Chapter 145. I'm so tired. Isn't it that Yu Gang wants to help each other? Now he goes to help. See what he will say. At this time, Flanders and others who were hiding in the dark really didn't know what to say. On the one hand, it was about Yun Feng, and on the other hand, it was about Yu Gang. But the journey is not over yet, especially for Tang San. He has twice the punishment than others. But for now, even if he doesn't have twice as much, it will be very difficult to complete it normally. So Tang San's heart is full of resentment now. Maybe before seeing Yun Feng, Tang San might not think anything, but after seeing Yun Feng's physique so amazing, Tang San couldn't help it anymore and began to complain in his heart. Isn't this really playing with them? What kind of cooperation is needed? In fact, not only Tang San, but others also think so. What kind of perversion is this? Zhu Zuqing and Zhao Wu didn't think so much, just looked at Yun Feng who came to them again. There was a trace of envy in their eyes that was not easy to detect. Zhu Zuqing envied Yun Feng's strength, and Zhao Wu envied Yun Feng's talent. This was the last round trip. Yun Feng looked at Zhao Wu, Zhu Zuqing, and Tang San and the others, but they didn't say anything. However, Yun Feng could see that they were in very bad condition. Yun Feng didn't say anything, but just accompanied Zhao Wu and Zhu Zuqing to continue running. However, Zhu Zuqing had trained in the grove for a period of time before accepting this training, so her physical strength was consumed particularly quickly. After persisting for a while, she fainted on the ground. The whole person fell heavily. Fortunately, Yun Feng was beside her and noticed this scene. He picked her up in time, so that she didn't touch the ground. Zhao Wu was also dying. Yun Feng didn't give Zhao Wu time to refuse. He carried her on his back, and then in the bitter eyes of Tang San and the others, he quickly took the two women and galloped away. He returned directly to the original starting point. Tang San and the others were helpless, but they were too embarrassed to speak, so they could only bite the bullet and continue running. But they didn't run far before Oscar and Ma Hongjun also fainted. In order to complete his teacher's task, Tang San sighed, looked at Dima Bai, and saw that his face was also extremely bad. He directly carried the heaviest Ma Hongjun on his back. Dima Bai was also very uncomfortable, so he chose to help Oscar up. There was already a heavy load, and now there were two more stones and bodies. This can be said to be difficult. After running for a distance, Ma Hongjun and Oscar were also awakened by the bumpy footsteps. After waking up, they started to vomit. Supporting each other, they walked forward step by step. The scenery in front of them was already blurred, and the existence of the end could be vaguely seen. Their bodies were now completely supported by willpower to continue moving forward. Tang San carried heavy stones on his back, and supported Ma Hongjun and Oscar with both hands to help them support part of their weight. Although he could not use his soul power, under the condition of his physical limit, the toughness of Xuan Gong itself had gradually been exerted. Otherwise, he would not have been able to hold on until now. Dima Bai's waist had been bent by the pressure, and there was a little more red in his evil eyes. Every step he took seemed to be weighed down by 1,000-pound weight. 400 meters, 300 meters, 200 meters, 100 meters. The master's stiff face had appeared in front of everyone. Seeing them supporting each other and moving forward together, Yu Zhaogang, who had just finished cooking at this time, could not help but be moved when he saw this scene. Of course, Yun Feng, who was sitting next to him, had to be excluded. The three women had been sent to rest by Yun Feng at this time. As for Yun Feng, he would naturally not let so much food be cooked in vain. He started eating on the spot, especially after Yu Zhaogang knew that Yun Feng had gone to bring Ning Rong, Zhao Wu and Zhu Zuqing back. He was completely dumbfounded. Looking at Yun Feng's eyes, he was full of resentment. How could he lead the team if Yun Feng was like this? Fortunately, his disciple Tang San was still doing well. This last round trip took them a whole hour, but they finally insisted on coming back. Plop, plop. The four people almost fell to the ground one after another, and almost fainted at the same time. Yu Zhaogang watched them fall one after another, but he never moved. Only after Tang San and Dima Bai finally fainted at the same time did he reveal a faint smile on his face. Don't abandon, don't give up. Very good, very good. Flanders brought Zhao Wuji and several other teachers to the master quietly. Master, you are also very good. Very ruthless. Yu Zhaogang ignored the dissatisfaction in Flanders' words and waved his hand. Hurry up and take them over. Including Yu Zhaogang, the teachers hurriedly took off the bamboo baskets on Tang San and the others, and carried them to the academy. Only Yun Feng, who had just finished eating, said something. I want to go too. I'm exhausted from running so far. As he spoke, Yun Feng wiped the non-existent sweat on his forehead. After hearing this, Yu Gang's stiff face twitched several times, and then nodded. Of course, you are also a member of the academy. You have worked hard today. When Zhu Zuqing and the others woke up from their coma, they found themselves in the palace. The warm feeling came from all directions into their bodies. The warm and comfortable feeling almost made them moan. After calming down, the women found that they were lying naked in the bathtub, which was full of brown liquid. Dawu and Ningrong were on the other side, still sleeping soundly in the wooden barrel. Since the palace was extremely huge, the bathtub was naturally not small, and it was more than enough for 3 people to lie down. Stirring the liquid in front of her, the not-too-strong smell of medicine wafted into her nose. Zhu Zuqing's nose moved, and she immediately understood a little. This is a medicinal bath. Tang San on the other side also woke up faintly, but Tang San didn't get much treatment. After waking up, she immediately found that Ma Hongjun was with her, and they were both naked, staying in a wooden barrel. Tang San frowned and glanced at Ma Hongjun in front of him. Seeing that he was still sleeping, he did not disturb him, but looked at the liquid he was soaking in. After coming to this world, although he did not study the medicines of this world in detail, he also knew a little bit. The medicinal materials in this world have a lot of similarities with those in his previous life. At this time, the liquid in the barrel should be boiled with some medicinal materials, and the functions of these medicinal materials are mainly to relax muscles and activate blood circulation and strengthen the body. No wonder after such intense consumption, he did not feel too much pain when he woke up, only his legs were slightly sore and his body was slightly soft. Chapter 146. You're not wearing any clothes either? There was a note next to the barrel, with Yu Gang's handwriting on it. Go to the cafeteria to eat after you wake up. Seeing the word eat, Tang San suddenly felt his stomach rumble, as if it made a sound, and the feeling of hunger suddenly surged. After standing up from the water, he found that there were 2 other smaller barrels placed next to the large barrel, filled with clean water, obviously for them to wash their bodies. The clean water was not warm. When Tang San soaked in it, he couldn't help but shudder, and suddenly felt refreshed, and the soreness of the whole body gradually disappeared. After hurriedly washing the medicine on his body and changing into clean clothes, Tang San walked out of the dormitory. He was surprised to find that the sky outside was already full of stars. In the silent night, the chirping of insects and birds occasionally sounded, giving people a sense of tranquility. He stretched his body hard, and his bones made a series of crackling sounds, as if the whole person had stretched out. He took 2 deep breaths of fresh air to replace the turbid air in his body, and strode towards the cafeteria. From a distance, the lights in the cafeteria could be seen on. When Tang San walked into the cafeteria, he found a person sitting there eating. Hearing footsteps, the person who was eating and drinking turned around and looked at Zhao San. It was Yun Feng. Tang San, come and eat. It tastes really good. Yun Feng smiled immediately after seeing Tang San. He greeted him warmly. After all, at this time, Yun Feng would not take the initiative to reveal anything. After Tang San approached, he found that there were still a lot of plates beside Yun Feng. It was obvious that these must have been eaten by Yun Feng. Looking at Yun Feng's appetite, Tang San was actually very curious. Why could Yun Feng eat so much and not have any problems? But Tang San, who was already hungry, didn't want to think about these things now. He walked to Daimabai and sat down. There were 7 servings of food on the table in the cafeteria, which were obviously prepared for him and others. There was also a note on the table, which was also written by the master. After dinner, clean the dishes, empty the water in the bucket in the room, clean up, don't sleep, practice soul power before dawn, and gather for class in the morning. The dinner was very rich. A big bowl of fragrant stew, 5 big white steamed buns, a bowl of thick soup, a plate of vegetables and some fruits. The protest of his stomach made Tang San not have time to talk to Yun Feng, and he immediately began to feast on the food, sweeping away the food in front of him like a whirlwind. It was refreshing, very refreshing, very refreshing. After a lot of physical energy consumption, the supplement of food seemed to make people feel that the body was absorbing the nutrients in it. At this time, Ma Hongjun, Oscar and Daimabai also walked into the cafeteria. None of them spoke, but came directly to the table and started eating. Ma Hongjun's appetite was also very good. While Tang San and others were still eating, he had already finished his portion. Then he seemed to think of something, leaning on the table and looking at him. Seeing that he had finished eating, he said, "Tang San, Master is really ruthless. This is even more fierce than the previous Dean Flanders. Judging from the meaning of the Master's message, I am afraid that our days will be difficult in the future." "Is this how the Master taught you before?" Tang San shook his head and said, "The teacher taught me mostly theoretical knowledge before. This kind of training is also the first time I have encountered it. However, the teacher told me yesterday that as a spirit master, the body is the foundation. So this should be his arrangement." Oscar on the side smiled bitterly and said, "This is not as simple as strengthening. The Master's training for us is completely arranged according to the limit. If it weren't for our good physical fitness, we might not be able to get up for a few days this time. However, the bucket of strange liquid seems to have a certain effect." After hearing this, Yun Feng nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, this training is so exhausting. If it weren't for my good physical fitness, I might have collapsed." After this, several people fell silent and stared at Yun Feng blankly. It's not like they didn't have eyes. Although Yun Feng had done a series of things before, he could be said to be tired, but looking at his appearance, it was nonsense to fall down violently. However, several people knew not to respond, otherwise if Yun Feng said something else, they would be shocked to death. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded, "I'm starving. Where is the food?" A figure rushed in from outside, not even bothering to greet Tang San and Dima Bai, and rushed directly to the food on the table. It was Zhao Wu who came. Looking at her rosy little face, Yun Feng and Tang San's faces immediately showed a smile. Obviously, Zhao Wu had also recovered from extreme exhaustion. While eating, Zhao Wu also saw the note on the table, and at the same time made a few gestures to Yun Feng, meaning to wait for her to finish eating first. Looking at Zhao Wu's appearance, she woke up from her coma and had eaten. Yun Feng felt lazy at this time and didn't want to move at all. He leaned directly on the table and watched Zhao Wu eat the food in front of him without any ladylike image. The food given to the girls was the same as theirs, except that they had 2 steamed buns. Although Zhao Wu's mouth was not big, she ate very fast. In a short while, she had already eaten most of the food in front of her. After a while, Zhu Zuqing also came over. When Zhu Zuqing walked in, her face was very calm. It was not until she saw Yun Feng that she smiled. Zhu Zuqing's eating movements were much more elegant than Zhao Wu's. She chewed slowly and every movement looked so graceful. Behind the graceful movements was speed. If he hadn't seen the food in front of her dwindling rapidly, Yun Feng would have found it hard to believe that she could eat so fast with such slow movements. "So comfortable. I'm full." Zhao Wu leaned directly on Yun Feng's shoulder without any hesitation. "Yun Feng, you came here again later?" Yun Feng smiled, looked at Zhao Wu and said directly, "Such a strong amount of exercise. If you are not used to it, you will definitely not be able to bear it, so I want to go and see." Not only Zhao Wu, but Zhu Zuqing also looked at Yun Feng at this time, with a light flashing in her eyes. Zhao Wu seemed to think of something. Her pretty face suddenly blushed, sat up straight, and whispered, "You took a bath later? You didn't wear clothes?" Yun Feng was stunned and nodded subconsciously, but he soon realized something and said directly, "Don't panic, your clothes were taken off by the women in the village. I didn't participate." After hearing this, Zhao Wu and Zhu Zuqing breathed a sigh of relief. There were different emotions in their hearts. Chapter 147 Soul King. Why didn't Yun Feng help them? The moment this thought came out, the 2 girls blushed instantly. "What on earth are they thinking about?" So shameful. After seeing this scene, Tang San suddenly felt that Zhao Wu's face was like a red apple. So cute. But Zhao Wu's blushing face at this time did not belong to her. It was uncomfortable. Ning Rong was the last to arrive. After eating, she also had a look of emotion. "It's so comfortable." After eating, everyone washed the dishes together. Yun Feng then took the girls back to their own palace. There was no conversation all night. When Yun Feng woke up again, it was already dawn. The biological clock woke him up habitually. In fact, the most important thing was the habit left over from the training with Zhu Zuqing during this period. After practicing for a while, the familiar bell rang. and the Shrek people did not hesitate and went directly to the playground. Yao Gang had already stood in the middle of the playground waiting for them, looking at Yao Gang's calm and stiff face. Except for Yun Feng, everyone else felt a little nervous and even a little scared. Very good. You all came very quickly today. Yao Gang nodded, his eyes swept across everyone's faces habitually. I am very satisfied with your actions yesterday. Although some people did not complete the punishment, I am satisfied that from you, I saw the spirit of not abandoning and not giving up. As partners, how can we trust each other with confidence? What is needed is the word trust. You all did a good job. Mutual trust allows you to complete yesterday's test better. After saying this, Yao Gang deliberately chose not to look at Yun Feng. After all, when he said this, he was a little uncomfortable, but he soon stabilized directly. He said shamelessly, before today's class starts, Tang San, go and complete your punishment yesterday. Yes. Tang San agreed, turned around and ran out of the academy. When Tang San went to complete the punishment, several people also started today's training. Yao Gang's training for them was very simple, with 1 to 2 hours of fighting every day. The fighting situation was different every day, and the two sides were randomly combined. Sometimes it was 1-on-1, sometimes 1-on-2, and sometimes 2-on-2, or even 3-on-3, or 3-on-4. Yao Gang would make some special requirements for the daily battles, such as what kind of soul skills were allowed to be used, what was not allowed to be used, and what kind of restrictions were there. After the battle training, physical training would begin. Just like the first day, soul power was never allowed to be used during physical training. At the same time, it had to be completed by several people together. Yao Gang's methods of physical training were endless. The simplest one was weighted running. There were also various methods such as weighted mountain climbing. But no matter what kind of physical training method, it was necessary to make the Shrek people reach the limit that their bodies could bear. After a period of time, they were used to waking up from the wooden barrel potion every night. For the rest of the people, this training was a devilish training, but for Yun Feng, he felt nothing. Although this devilish training was tough, Yao Gang was not stingy at all. In terms of food, he changed the food to satisfy everyone's appetite to the greatest extent. Due to the intensity of the training, after 3 months, everyone except Yun Feng had changed a lot. It's not that there was no training effect. Another thing was that the rest of the people also went to Soto City to register their Soul Master status. In order not to cause a sensation, when they went to register, the master specially asked them to wear specially made masks. Although it caused some suspicion, it was not uncommon for Soul Masters to hide their appearance, and they still successfully received their subsidies. 3 months of devilish training did not improve the soul power of Shrek people much. During this period, only Ma Hongjun's soul power increased by 1 level. However, these 3 months of extreme physical training made a huge change in their physical fitness. It's just that this change in physical fitness has no effect at all. This is what most people think. Yun Feng actually doesn't think so. Changes in physical fitness can completely change many things, whether it is the absorption of soul rings or the increase in winning rate during fighting souls. Now, when Zhuzuking, Ningrong and Zhao Wu are running long distances with weights like on the first day, the weight attached to their bodies has exceeded 30 kilograms, but they are still able to do it with ease. Without using soul power. This is already a very scary data. However, Zhuzuking felt that his body became more and more stiff. It was completely not as flexible as before. Although the strength increased, Zhuzuking felt that he could not do it this way. Although the strength enhancement was also very good, but I just felt that this development was not good. However, everyone's physical condition has greatly improved. Under the high volume of exercise and sufficient nutritional supplements, it is first reflected in the figure. Zhuzuking, Zhao Wu and Ningrong have become much better. Especially Zhuzuking, the figure is getting more and more turbulent. This change also makes Ningrong and Zhao Wu very envious. After all, which girl does not envy Zhuzuking's figure? Yun Feng didn't feel anything, because at this time he was already a Soul King. 3 months have passed. The previous task of listening to advice has been completed. Directly promoted from the soul power of 46 to the 50th level. While finishing Yu Gang's 3-month training, Yun Feng was also thinking about when to get his own soul ring. For Yun Feng, it is not very important what soul beast the soul ring comes from, as long as the age reaches his own requirements. And Yun Feng did not tell others about the changes in his own soul power. He just sneaked out of Shrek Academy and went to the starred Great Forest. After all, going out with the large army will only slow him down. Soon after Yun Feng went out, Yun began to check the surroundings. After confirming that there were no strong people around, Yun Feng used his soul skills and soul bone skills with confidence. Under the blessing of Yun's soul bone, Yun Feng's fourth soul skill flew at an extremely fast speed. It only took about a day to reach the periphery of the starred Great Forest again. After hesitating for a while, Yun Feng decided to go directly to the depths. After all, there are still relatively few 10,000-year soul beasts on the periphery. Among the known soul ring absorption limits, the fifth soul ring can absorb 12,000 years. Chapter 148 Fire Cloud Silkworm. But after Yun Feng felt the strength of his body and soul, he did not hesitate too much. The soul beast he wanted to hunt this time must be 20,000 years old. Although 20,000-year-old soul beasts, generally speaking, can only be absorbed by soul emperors. But Yun Feng is not an ordinary person now. His body has been strengthened countless times. If he can't absorb more than a few thousand years, then he should not mix with it. It's really embarrassing. As Yun Feng continued to go deeper, he soon found a very suitable prey. Looking at the treetops not far away, there was a small red figure. Yun Feng immediately recognized what kind of soul beast it was. Fire Cloud Silkworm. Looking at the fire cloud pattern on its body, there were 8 pieces, and Yun Feng immediately confirmed that the fire cloud silkworm in front of him had a soul power cultivation of at least 20,000 years, or even a few thousand years more. This is a soul beast that carries a deadly poison all over its body. Even just a slight touch will bring fire poison to the body, and this fire poison is difficult to remove. It will burn the creatures that come into contact with its body all the time, until death. However, this kind of soul beast is extremely rare. Because of its body shape, this silkworm is often involved in the aftermath of some soul beast battles, leading to death. Although the toxicity is extremely high and the probability of causing death is very high, but generally they don't live long. To sum it up in one sentence, it is high attack and low defense. After seeing this soul beast, Yun Feng was immediately happy. To be honest, it would be a lie for Yun Feng to say that he was not nervous when hunting a 10,000-year soul beast alone. After all, if he is not careful, he will be completely explained here. This is not an ordinary soul beast. Yun Feng, who has knowledge of soul beasts, naturally knows how fierce this little guy in front of him is. Although the defense is low, the speed is fast, even if it is only a momentary burst speed. Yun Feng doesn't think he can handle it. After thinking for a while, Yun Feng directly took out the sniper rifle he had made in the past 3 months from his soul guide. There was no other way. It was really difficult for him to get close. He could only use this method. Besides, this was also his own power. Why not make good use of it? He directly held the sniper rifle in his hand far away. Because Yun Feng had charged the weapon before, he didn't need to temporarily accumulate soul power this time, so it didn't cause any fluctuations in soul power. As Yun Feng was ready, a subtle muffled sound appeared in the silent forest. The fiery red figure in the distance suddenly made a painful insect sound, and then fell directly to the ground. When Yun Feng saw this, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but show an arc. However, for the sake of caution, Yun Feng only breathed a sigh of relief after he had used up all the bullets in the sniper rifle in his hand. However, seeing that the body of the fire cloud silkworm was almost broken by him, Yun was also speechless. Should I be so cautious? Yun Feng didn't answer, but just smiled, slowly walked over, and began to use soul power to pull the black soul ring on the fire cloud silkworm. On the other side, Ning Rong Narong, Dao Wu and Zhu Zuqing also found that Yun Feng was missing. After searching for a while, they only found a note left on the table. It just said that young Feng would go out for a few days and would be back soon, so the three women didn't care too much. Only Zhu Zuqing had a trace of regret in her eyes. Yun Feng's departure meant that she could not continue training. Well, it's not that she can't train, but the training effect is not as good as before. As for Tang San, during this period, it seems that their relationship with Oscar, Ma Hongjun and Dai Mabai has eased a lot. It seems that Zhao Gang said something to him, which made Tang San change some of his views. After all, Tang San also has ambitions in his heart. As for Dai Mabai, who hates Tang San the most, he also thought about something, at least on the surface. He was still relatively warm. Finally, Oscar got a chance to rest, and he fell asleep in bed. Tang San continued to practice as usual. As Zhu Zuqing insisted on continuing to train his physical foundation, Dai Mabai took the initiative to ask to accompany her. Dao Wu and Ning Rong were similar to Oscar, and they also decided to take advantage of these 7 days to have a good rest. Only Ma Hongjun couldn't stay idle. During the devilish training, he was the one who complained the most. But as soon as the holiday came, the fat man immediately slipped out of the academy to Shangsuochuo City to solve his physiological problems. While listening to Oscar's snoring, Tang San assembled the parts sent from the blacksmith shop. Today he finally had time. He was very satisfied with the craftsmanship of the Tai brothers in the blacksmith shop. So far, the parts of several mechanical hidden weapons such as the silent sleeve arrow, the innuendo, and the tight back-end bow crossbow have been manufactured. Only this huge god crossbow has higher requirements and is still being forged. Tang San plans to take advantage of these few days of rest. In addition to practicing, he will assemble these already made hidden weapons to add some foundation to himself. Time passed quickly while he was assembling the hidden weapons. It was not until Oscar woke up from his sleep and told him to go eat that Tang San realized that the sunlight outside had turned into moonlight. A day had passed just like that. The two of them left the dormitory and walked towards the cafeteria together. As they were walking, they suddenly saw a man staggering towards them. "Damn, who is this? Why does he have a pig's head?" Oscar exclaimed in an exaggerated tone. Tang San looked closely and saw that the man who was staggering was actually Ma Hongjun, but he looked extremely embarrassed now. Not only were his clothes torn in many places and he looked dirty, but his round, fat face was completely swollen, with purple-black bruises around his eyes and dried blood stains at the corners of his mouth. "Fatty, what's wrong with you?" Tang San hurriedly walked up to support the staggering Ma Hongjun. Oscar skillfully summoned his recovery sausage and handed it over. Ma Hongjun was not polite and ate the sausage in 2 or 3 bites. He looked a little better. "Damn, it's shameful this time." Ma Hongjun's eyes were full of hatred. He had a small face. At this time, his face was swollen, and his eyes were almost squeezed by the fat on his face. "Even sane, I let an insignificant uncle. Shame, really fucking." Oscar frowned. "Fat, you will not be jealous with others." Obviously, as Oscar said, the fat man was beaten by his favorite problem when he solved his hobby problem. Chapter 149, same as before. With the help of Oscar's recovery sausage, Ma Hongjun's physical condition improved a lot, and the three of them walked into the cafeteria. In the cafeteria, Dai Mabai was sitting there eating and drinking. "Damn, fatty, what's wrong with you?" Seeing Ma Hongjun's embarrassed look, Dai Mabai was also shocked. His temper is much hotter than Tang San's, but his strength can't keep up with his temper. He stood up from the chair suddenly, and his evil eyes were full of anger. Ma Hongjun said with a sad face, "Dai boss, you have to make the decision for your brothers. Look at how they beat me. Even my handsome face is distorted. How can I pick up girls in the future?" After hearing this, Dai Mabai's mouth twitched several times. "Handsome? Seriously? But Dai Mabai also has his own ideas. Whether it's friendship or Ma Hongjun's talent, he still nodded very seriously. Oscar chuckled. "Handsome face, swollen like a pig's head. What happened? You tell me first." Ma Hongjun pulled a chair and sat down, then told the story. "I left in the morning, ready to solve my problem in Soto City, and when I got there, I really found a golden phoenix in the grass nest. Just when I was about to call the little girl to solve the problem, who knew a wretched uncle would appear, The guy looked to be in his 40s, with short hair. At first glance, he seemed quite honest, but a closer look, the guy's eyes were full of lewd light. One of his hands was bandaged with gauze, but he insisted on snatching the little girl from me. At that time, I asked him, "Uncle, your hand is like this, why are you still doing it?" Guess what he said? He actually said that I don't use my hands. I have seen wretched people, but I have never seen such a wretched one. Although Tang San on the side wanted to say something similar. There are only 3 seconds left, and you are still thinking about these things, aren't you tired? But after thinking of Yao Gang's instructions, he still didn't say it. I stunned me and threw it out of that grass nest. What made me most unbearable was that he actually played my little and said that I was small. As a man, how can I endure such an insult, and then I get up and become like this? What do we have to do? You have to do the master for your brothers. If it wasn't for the recent practice, maybe I was going to be beaten back. Ma Hongjun was obviously not light this time. Especially the spiritual blow was very serious. He was crying and snotting, and Tang San and the other two frowned. Tang San asked, "What's the name of that man?" Ma Hongjun wiped his face with his sleeve. "I heard the madam in Kao call him Bula, probably not his real name." "Bula? A soul sect dares to bully my brother? Come on, fatty, lead the way, let's go and see now." "Dao San, Dao, do you two want to go?" Daimabai could understand Fatty's current mood. He used to be jealous, but he mostly took advantage. Since he lost that thing, he restrained himself. What's more, Fatty was beaten so badly, although he didn't seem to be injured, he was embarrassed enough. Tang San nodded, and there was always a bad premonition in his heart. Let's go and see together. As for Oscar and Daimabai, their thoughts were much simpler. In this kind of matter, it is actually impossible to say who is right or wrong, but who doesn't side with their own people. If you don't fight back when you see your brother being beaten, then you are not a man. Oscar chuckled and said, "Of course I will go. I want to see who is more wretched than our fat man. Even if I can't beat him, I have my mushroom sausage, so we can still run away in time." Ma Hongjun was overjoyed when he heard that the three of them were willing to stand up for him. "Good brother, let's go now. Maybe we can stop him." It's a pity that brother Feng is not here, otherwise he would be scared to death. This is true. If the shock they had received from the previous battle with Awuji was beyond description, then the 3 months of training had completely conquered them. He was too strong. So strong that they didn't even have the slightest thought of catching up. Everyone shook their heads together and didn't want to think about it anymore. Ma Hongjun also realized that something was wrong. After he finished speaking, he immediately jumped up, turned around and ran outside, as if the injuries on his body no longer hurt. Daimabai grabbed Ma Hongjun. "Why are you in such a hurry? If you want to go, you should eat first so that you can have strength. By the way, tell me about that guy's martial spirit. As the saying goes, knowing yourself and knowing the enemy is the way to win every battle." Although the fat man looked anxious, his stomach was really empty. He sat down again, while everyone was eating dinner. Ma Hongjun told them about how he was beaten. "That guy is not tall, only about 1.6 meters tall, with a dark face, as if he just came out of a coal mine. His martial spirit is very strange, not attack, defense or speed type. It feels. The fat man's eyes drifted to Tang San. "It seems to have the same function as Tang San's martial spirit, but the appearance is different." Tang San and Daimabai looked at each other, and they said almost in unison, "Control system spirit master?" The fat man nodded. "It should be a control system." His martial soul is 2 semicircular covers, both the size of a steamed bun, pink. This guy puts his martial soul on his head as soon as he summons it. It's so disgusting. When he fought with me, he used 2 soul skills. The first soul skill was to enlarge the 2 covers and block my phoenix fire line. The second soul skill was to use 2 covers to trap my body in front and behind. The cover feels very flexible. I don't know what material it is made of. Even my phoenix fire can't destroy it. It is bound to my body and wrapped me like a zongcai. Then I became his sandbag. If Yun Feng was here, he would definitely be able to answer their doubts. I just don't know how underwear appeared in this world. Maybe it was written by some unruly authors out of bad taste. However, The appearance of this martial soul does illustrate the diversity of martial souls. It is not entirely composed of soul beasts. It has a great power of thinking. Chapter 150 The Fifth Soul Skill, Demonic Eye Devouring the World. Two Pink Hoods. What kind of martial spirit is this? Even Tang San, who has studied with the master for many years and is considered knowledgeable, couldn't figure it out. After thinking about it, Tang San decided to be cautious and asked, so, he should have two other spirit skills that he hasn't used yet. The fat man didn't think much about it, but said directly, Tang San, with the three of you soul masters, plus me, a level 27 great soul master, are you still afraid of him? What's more, you are also a control-type soul master. He misunderstood and thought Tang San would be afraid. Tang San was not afraid of this, but he did not want to fail, so he said again, control-type spirit masters are special. In a one-on-one situation, control-type spirit masters have a great advantage. Fatty, if we meet him, you will be responsible for long-range attack and harassment. Dime Bai and I will face him head-on, and Zhao will be responsible for supply. He is definitely not our opponent. The control system is not like the strong attack system. As long as he can't control all of us, he will definitely lose. If I guess correctly, his martial spirit should be naturally restrained by fire, otherwise your fire would not have no effect at all. When we start, I will counter-control him. Although my spirit power is not as good as his, at least I can harass him so that he can't control our people. The melee ability of the control-type spirit master is completely impossible to block your attack, even if he is level 40. The level difference is about 10 levels, and Tang San is fully confident that he can hinder the opponent's control ability. Yu Gang once said that the best way to deal with a control-type spirit master is to control against control. If the strong attack spirit master is the core of a team, the auxiliary spirit master is the foundation of a team, and the quick attack spirit master is the eye of a team, then the control spirit master is the soul of a team. During these 3 months of devilish training, Tang San not only strengthened his body, but also Yu Gang trained him every night. The goal of the training was the compound eye lurking above the eyebrow. Moreover, during this period of training, Tang San also knew some of the abilities of his compound eyes. That is, dynamic capture and strengthening mental power. Now his purple magic pupil has reached the second realm because of the addition of this compound eye, mustard seed. So there is no worry at all. At this time, Yun Feng had finished hunting souls, left the starred Great Forest, and came to Soto City. After all, with Yun's soul bone and his 4th soul skill blessing, and now his 52nd level soul power, the speed of return is naturally very fast. As for why he didn't go back to Shrek directly, it was just because he was hungry. During the days he was out, Yun Feng basically dealt with it casually, and he also had to replenish the materials for forging soul guides. The most important thing is that Yun Feng met an acquaintance here, Ma Hongjun. Looking at his appearance, Yun Feng didn't want to go forward, but after thinking about it, in order to test his 5th soul skill, Yun Feng followed. Then he saw the scene of Ma Hongjun being beaten violently, but Yun Feng hid in the dark and didn't make a move. There were many more thoughts in his heart. He even used his 5th soul skill directly, but the target was not Ma Hongjun, but Bulla not far away. His 5th soul skill had been converted by himself. The 21,000-year-old fire cloud silkworm was transformed into the soul ring of the 10,000 Demon King. Not only did it increase the body of the Blue Silver King again, but it also added some special abilities to it. You know, the body of the 10,000 Demon King is the 1,000 Eyes Demon Tree. So Yun Feng got the ability to bewitch and strengthen under his control. It's similar to parasitism, but different from parasitism. The 5th soul skill Demon Eye Devouring World. This soul skill is a bit similar to the martial soul fusion skills of Xinyan, Ziyu and Huliena, but Yun Feng's Demon Eye Devouring World can strengthen teammates in this soul skill and become fearless, and at the same time, it can also strengthen his own Blue Silver King. However, if he is covered by the spirit skill for a long time, he will slowly lose himself and become Yun Feng's servant. Although he will not lose himself, he will become obedient to Yun Feng. As for this long term, it is completely viewed through Yun Feng's own strength. Yun Feng, who knew the plot, quickly bought what he needed in Soto City and waited here. At the same time, he secretly strengthened Bula. He wanted to see the scene of Bula beating Tang San and others. Even if it didn't work, he would bring them some trouble. The three of them hurriedly ate dinner, and the fat man ate 2 more Oscar recovery sausages. The 4 of them quietly went out of the academy. Ma Hongjun didn't plan to tell others. After all, it was not glorious to be beaten in a grass nest. Just as the 4 of them walked to the gate of the academy, suddenly, a black shadow flashed horizontally and blocked their way forward. After Ma Hongjun was beaten, he was already a little nervous at this time, and almost released his martial spirit at the first time. The purple-red flame illuminated the darkness, and the 4 of them saw who was blocking them. Ma Hongjun breathed a sigh of relief and retracted the phoenix flame. "Why is it you? Are you trying to scare people to death?" The person who suddenly appeared in front of the 4 people was Zhao Wu. Zhao Wu was wearing a pair of brown trousers today, and a simple white tight top. Although her figure was not as hot as Zhu Zuking's, her slender body gave her a different feeling, especially her amazingly slender but elastic waist, and the black scorpion braids that hung down to her feet, which gave her a bit of the beauty of a girl next door. A pair of big black eyes stared at Tang San and the other 4 with some doubt. "What are you doing sneaking around, fatty? Why is your face swollen? Did someone beat you up?" Ma Hongjun coughed dryly. After all, Daimabai and the other 2 were men like him, so he didn't shy away from anything. But Zhao Wu was a girl, and she had always been dissatisfied with his lifestyle. For a moment, he didn't want to tell them about how he was beaten. Zhao Wu took a few steps forward and saw the injuries on Ma Hongjun's face in the moonlight. She immediately became amused and joked, "Who is so cruel? He beat you up like this, Tang San? It can't be you?" After seeing Zhao Wu's misunderstanding, Tang San hurriedly explained, "Zhao Wu, don't you know me yet? Would I be cruel to my own brothers?" Fatty was beaten because of jealousy with others. "We are preparing to find a place for him to fight." "Then what are you waiting for? Count me in. It's such a fun thing. I want to go too. It just so happens that my hands are itching. I have to beat him so that he can't take care of himself." Zhao Wu is a person who is afraid of chaos in the world. When she first entered the academy, she had some prejudices against Fatty, but so many days have passed. Everyone has taken care of each other and passed this period of devil training, and the prejudice has long disappeared. What's more, she was the big sister in Notting College, and she did a lot of things to find places for people to fight. Usually, everyone had a plan for fighting. Finally, there was a chance to fight, and she looked more anxious than Ma Hongjun. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.